Hello, everybody. My name is Derek DeNicola, writer and producer out here in Los Angeles. And today I should be writing, and I will, but I just also wanted to just introduce myself and welcome you to my Twitch live stream about writing and reading and anything related to writing that interests me in the moment. We review prose here, we dabble in screenplay formats, we talk about shorts, we talk about overall concepts and ideas and outlines and everything that normal people would run from the hills screaming, saying, please, please, God, no, not me. We tackle here because we love writing so much. And usually work on other people's stuff today. But today is going to be a little bit more all about moi. And it's good. It's good to be selfish with your writing and make sure that you're getting it done. Also, leading by example. What's up, level 75 Necromancer? How's it going? How are you doing today? Tell me a little bit about where you've been for the past week. How's your novel coming along? The one inspired by Dark Crystal. Oh, well, thanks for the sub, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Are you kind of like a survivalist? Do you have the alone skills? I love watching Alone. I would never do it because I know I would die, and I know enough to know that I'm unprepared. I don't know. It seems thrilling in a show condensed down where you don't have to seem time, like really witness time pass and be alone with your thoughts all that much. But tell me about the isolation. Tell me about what that's like. The I don't want to call it loneliness if you don't feel lonely, and you could always drive back to civilization if you wanted to. But what is the isolation like, I guess? Yeah. If, it feels nicer and more alluring every day. Every time you turn on a phone and see the news, you think, oh God, society is a snowball that's been pushed downhill and kind of waiting to go kersplat. And wouldn't it be great to be in nature as intended? I'm always curious about how that influences someone's writing. I think you're leading a real interesting life, and I think a lot of people talk about doing what you're doing right now and don't, but you are someone who has. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I grew up in Louisiana, and I was always surrounded by woods, but nothing I couldn't escape from in 10 minutes. Yeah, I see that and I go, ooh, I wonder what nature would inspire me to write. Like, there's almost like an etiquette, how you're like not supposed to write industry stuff, even though industry stuff exists and it's successful. The studio on Apple, but writers find it really, really hard to write things about people who are alone, because then it's man versus himself or man versus nature. But those types of stories do exist, but like at least in screenplay format, it's like a struggle to keep something alive. Like even Castaway eventually like made another character out of a volleyball, And I wonder what kind of stuff nature is compelling you to write. And then also, my wife and I have been watching the Miyazaki documentaries. I know I'm a little late to the game, but I love the little town that he lives in. He lives like next to a school. His studios are just a nice quiet street. There's a bunch of trees around. He seems like he's not far away from like a little stream where he can take little hikes. Seems like the perfect blend of like a little city, little suburbia, and in nature, but also seeing how that comes out in Miyazaki's animations and how everything around him is an influence. Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's an interesting thing. Places and objects can be characters as much as people. True. I wrote a story about a palm tree. You can personify anything. I was in an improv troupe, and I would do stuff like that. I would be a character and be like, I'm gift wrap, and in the scene, or I'm a flamingo and I want those shrimp. Give me those shrimp. They're the thing that keep me pink. Whatever. You would do an improv scene and you're supposed to kind of go with the flow. And then my improv team at one point was like, hey man, you're doing like a lot of weird stuff and we kind of want to keep it more grounded, like, people having conflicts with people, and are you sure that you still want to do this with this group? And I was like, okay. They literally had to rein back my imagination to fit the playing style of this improv group I was in. Love them though. They're fantastic. I miss them a lot. Oh, that's right. Oh, you were around for the palm tree story. That's great. I wrote another one, and also while I was halfway falling asleep last night, I decided that I'm going to write another short just live on stream based off of some ideas I had falling asleep. And a couple streams ago, we started writing stories in the pantser writing style, meaning writing by the seat of your pants. And while I can do that, I don't feel like getting lost on stream. So I'm going to hash out an outline for a short story and then write it. So at least whenever people tune in, they can kind of see the masterminding of what and how I really beat out a short story. And I don't have all the answers. I'm going to find out live on stream, but we have the time. So here we go. Oh yes, sorry, I wanted to check one thing. See if I can pop out my chat just to keep it alive. Okay. Oh, also, we have a few other people in the chat. Meowfa, what's up? I haven't seen you. Well, you did pop up last stream too, but you didn't really chat. And if you want to lurk, that is totally cool. I'm just happy to have you back, Meowfa. Also, if you decide to not, remind me what you're working on so I can keep track of you. But anywho, today is my day. Let me pop up the chat on here too. It'll just be easier to keep track of. Oh yeah, mostly lurking. Fantastic. That's cool. Well, you're gonna have a lot to lurk on today. I'm gonna get really heavy into my own writing stuff. Level 75 Necromancer, do they still pants dudes in high school, or is this generation too nice? I don't know. It's been a while since I've been in high school, because I'm 40 years old, so I have no idea. But whenever you say, does this generation, it makes me wonder, a level 75 Necromancer, what generation are you from? So what are you referencing? I don't even know what generation is in high school right now. We have, I think Gen Z is out of high school, maybe, because I work with Gen Zers, like in the workforce, and some of them are in nursing school. So I think we're talking about Generation Alpha, and they are the generation I know the least about. I have heard only through the grapevine, and generalizations are dangerous. This is, akin to how like racism starts, but I have heard that maybe Gen Alpha is a little bit more straight edge. They're like rule followers by the book. Very, I don't know, just straight edge would be the way that they were described to me. Whenever I'm writing people from different generations and we want to try and nail their dialogue, it's like, well, what do they talk like? And you literally will Google what are Gen Z terms, what are millennial terms, what terms were popular in the 90s, what terms are popular in the 20s, what is gas, how do you gas things, things are peak now, all that stuff. That's all I know. Honestly, it's part and parcel. I'll learn as I need to for whenever I write something in that age group. Let's see, 75 Necro, I'm 37, so tail end of millennials, quite of our shame, of our generation, to be honest. Well, good, level 75 Necromancer, because one thing that I've realized is, and yes, I am procrastinating about writing. I will get to it. But whenever you feel strongly and have an opinion about something that kind of like emotionally resonates with you, consider that something to write about. Because if that truth rings true with you, then it might ring true with other people. So consider while you're out there in the woods, like really ruminating on why this generation has become such a letdown. Do we not take a strong enough political stance and correct our society back into the, between the bumpers again? Are we whiny? Do we complain without taking action? What is it about our generation? And then maybe choose a protagonist that personifies all that and see how they change whenever put into an unlikely situation. That kind of thing. But I'm always interested in whenever people have a strong opinion about something, right? Like that's where the seed of an idea starts, because you already understand that you're passionate about it. There's a writing exercise that kind of helps spark the imagination, and it's called The Hill That You Would Die On. It's where you go around in a circle and all the writers talk about, this hill I'll die on. And it can be something simple like, you must tip all waiters 20% even if you have bad service because they're working really hard for minimum wage. That's the hill I'll die on. Or the hill I'll die on is the toilet paper roll has to be over, not under. It makes no sense any other way, and that's the hill I'll die on. Or, I kind of ran out of hills I'll die on there. But let's see, that's exactly the problem. We feel like we need to project our shit into society and change the world as per our boomer parents who screwed us in the first place. But I digress. So if you're saying that we need to project our shit into society and change the world, like start getting more specific, like about that, like it's interesting too because you're writing this from the perspective of someone who finds peace without society, and you say that you are a natural loner, but then you use the pronoun like we, and so you become like, so even alone you feel a part of a collective, right? And so imagine, so the first thing that I think of is like nature, feeling alone as part of a collective, and I think like, oh, this is a short story about a bee who decided to leave the hive because he didn't want to live under a monarchy anymore. Like the first bee that, I'm going to use the term maybe in the wrong way here, but like the first woke bee who decided like, I'm going to be a rebel. Or like the first anarchist bee who's like, the hive isn't for me, bro, you see how like I can like use little bits of your opinion and your real life to start formulating a cool short story idea. I don't know, maybe, feel free to write that. I think only you can write something that you feel that strongly about, but I'd be interested to see where something like that takes you, and like using this quietude and this escapism to lean into kind of like a sense of like writer's therapy. Like, why do you do this? And what is it that you don't want to go back to? What do you hate? And share that with us so we can learn and grow. Like a writer has an opinion and an idea, and they have to think it through, put themselves in in the shoes of characters who have the opposite opinion, so that they can fully form a knowledge about the subject that they're writing about, tell a story in its totality. But in that totality, you're teaching us, like, with your stories. Like, I look forward to seeing what you write, and then like reading in a fun way what you've learned about the experience of going out into the woods and isolating yourself and that sort of thing. I'm not psychoanalyzing you. I'm developing story. I don't know who you are as a person, and I'm not trying to be a psychiatrist at all. But I do always like look for the nuggets of story, and stories are based in real life. Stuff happens to us in real life, and we feel moved to share it with people. And oftentimes I'll say like writers are moved because they want to write a feeling. And the thing that separates a journal entry from a story is the foundational knowledge that we have of storytelling, a structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and an intention that you set forth to write your story with. Anywho, it has been that in a way, writer's therapy. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let me start bringing up the old blank page so we can see me suffer for a little bit. You know what? I'm gonna minimize myself, and you guys don't care. Let me just know that I'm working hard on making the screen a little bit more organized, please, while I prepare to work. Jesus. I promise you I am doing my best, though. Chat box, and then I'll put a little document here. I'll be writing in Pages. Yeah, I still love writing in Pages. Don't know why, but it's just a little so simple. Come on, y'all, give me my window caption on. Oh, is it because I keep minimizing it? This is me talking to myself. This is how I handle all my technological problems. It is true. I had it minimized, so I couldn't find it. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Jesus, that's huge. That's what she said. Let's get my I'm so close, y'all. I'm almost there. I promise. I promise. Okay. That should fit everything on the screen. Okay. All right. This is how I wanted to do it. All right. All right. Do I game at all? Yeah. Level 75 Necromancer. I game. I love. Oh, you'll appreciate this. I think both being one of us being out in the country, one of us being from the country. I love Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it's beautiful and meditative and fun. Man, but I played it to death, so I took a little break and then I put in Cyberpunk 2077. I heard when it first came out, it was really glitchy, really buggy, but enough time has passed where everything should be really well patched, and so I'm kind of exploring that. Whenever I have like a 30-minute window where I know I won't be able to like get into a writing groove or or I'm in between stuff, I'll boot Cyberpunk and take out a Cyber Psycho or two or something. But yeah, Red Dead was definitely my jam. Let me consult my notes. So this is one of those things where I woke up in the middle of the night, and I say middle of the night, I was just trying to fall asleep, and I could not. I could not. So I had to write myself a little note about the idea I had. I had two ideas that were kind of inspired by like late night dozing off. And one is, I was like, ooh, I want to tell the story of one of these like modern day societal billionaires who have too much money, like a Bezos or a Musk or whatever, who decided to brand the moon, and then it ruins everybody's like this once beautiful thing that's a part of all of our like, you know, romance, lyrics, literature. You know, you go up and you stare at the moon and you can see, like, you could literally see stars and planets, and it's always been beautiful and inspirational and the origin of so many like fairy tales and myths. But now, whenever you go out and see it, it's a branded advertisement. They spent all their money like excavating the craters in the moon so that it builds out like a symbol. And I don't know that that has a story other than like it's kind of a mad idea. Let me ask, what is your goal on Twitch? I don't necessarily have a goal other than I was already writing, but now it's more like write with a community. Don't write alone. The art of writing was so solitary, and oftentimes whenever you like need to get notes, you would just email that off, and somebody at their earliest convenience would email you back some notes, and it took really a long time to kind of correspond. And the goal on Twitch isn't necessarily anything other than to build a community around what I was already doing. Like, I was just already doing this stuff. I was already giving people notes and helping other people with their work. I think more recently, I've decided that I'm going to start pivoting into just doing my own work on Twitch and letting the community kind of like witness and become an inspiration. Also, I find that whenever I write alone, I don't talk out loud. I listen to music and I have my thoughts and I pace around and I'll grab a snack or whatever. But sometimes whenever I'm forced to read my writing out loud to like fill up the audio content of Twitch, the way that I read things out will make me realize that the way that I had them in my head does not play out that way in the physical world, and I need to make that adjustment, especially in screenplay format whenever something's meant to be acted. And so it's actually becoming a little bit of a tool to help me get through my edits faster, because it literally forces me to speak out loud. And then, of course, you know, get to know other people as well. How about Final Fantasy? Man, I have heard so many people talk about Final Fantasy. I've never played it myself, but I understand its importance, and I understand that it's been around for decades, and it must be for a good reason. I just have yet to play it. And I don't know why that is. I just haven't. But I also love, what is it? I forget the first. Breath of the Wild Zelda and Zelda's Tears of the Kingdom, like those big open sandbox worlds, kind of like the beautiful nature, the ability to kind of explore on your own terms, and still have the entire narrative make sense. I love. Okay. All right. Let's talk about writing this thing. So while the idea of like the man who branded the moon is appealing to me, here's what I already know going into it as a writer is dangerous. What does this guy want? You know, because if I'm telling it from the story of the main character, he's already got it, or the guy who branded the moon. So I would need to essentially develop a protagonist who is not the man who branded the moon, but maybe an interesting take would be like that person's assistant, the person who inadvertently helped ruin the beauty of nature. You know, like, was there any regrets from the team that carved American presidents into a mountain? You know, that mountain was beautiful before we decided to just carve the faces of men, of the founding fathers of America into it. I think it's a huge, bold move that didn't age well, you know? Like, we don't need to be idolizing politicians and to call people, even the people who have started a new country, the founding fathers, by essentially defacing Mother Nature to do it. Like, countries are going to come and go, and people. I have a personal opinion that I'd rather just have had the mountain there. And so, like, what do you do whenever it's the moon and it's everybody, absolutely everybody on the planet who isn't blind can look up and see the moon? So it seems like it'd be devastating. I wonder if it would be interesting to tell that kind of story from the weight of like that guy's assistant who needs the paycheck, who has like a sick wife or parent at home, who needs the health insurance and has to go along with essentially like taking something beautiful and ruining it forever for everyone. But I'm not really prepared to do that. I was kind of leaning into the other idea I had, which I think has more juice, and this is just from experience as a writer. I know because it has a relationship in there. And I wanted to tell the short story of a woman who runs into a man at a museum and hits it off with him. Unbeknownst to her, he is the art exhibit, and that he is the first AI integration into a robot body who is designed to casually talk and move and chat with people. And this goes back to the guy who taped a banana on the wall and called it a modern art. There's art gets into some really fucky territory whenever it comes to like deceiving or subverting the expectations of the museum goers. And I thought that would be like a fun little story to tell. And I could also use AI in a fun way where I could write from the woman's perspective, but then have AI literally generate the dialogue that it would use, because AI will sound AI, even if I tell it to sound human and casual. What is AI's interpretation of that? And I think that would be a really fun way to use AI without taking away from the heart of art, like literally to use it against itself. It's not replacing me. Let's see. What's up, guy? I'm not your guy, friend. Oh, yeah, the South Park quote, yeah. Scrolly, man, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? You said the second premise is 10 times better. Yeah, because it has a relationship at the heart of it, I think. And it still has a fun little twist. And that's the other thing. I don't know if the man who branded the moon has a twist. Is more of it's just like it almost seems more like a New York Times cartoon, like almost like a single panel. Like, well, you know, guess they've ruined it for everyone. Like looking out at the beautiful night sky, trying to propose maybe to a girlfriend, and the moon brought to you by Sprite or Coca-Cola or something, just kind of like doesn't hit the same way. Sounds like copium. Just kneel before the artificially generated feet of the AI overlords. Yeah. But you know, like, I gotta say, Scrolly, like, I write like a lot of things that are like out of my depth. You know, I did start off writing what I knew, but whenever I wanted to write about a main character who was a psychic or a fortune teller, I went and found books and I processed the information about psychics and fortune tellers and how they helped cops solve cold cases, or how it was at least popular for them to try to. Listen to the story of Miss Cleo and follow the story of Sylvia Browne and all this kind of stuff. And you know, there would be times where the truth is stranger than the fiction. And I'd be like, well, I just have to use this sentence that she actually said because I can't believe anybody would actually say this to justify their actions. And the only difference is that my eyes did it and my fingers typed it, as opposed to asking chat to search and find the same thing and then also having me like read and digest it and then deciding whether my fingers are going to type it in the exact same way or not. But Scrolly, I know you definitely have your opinions on AI, but here's what I'll say. Before society collapses, it's going to be here to stay. Somebody who has a tech company and is literally potentially selling a patent that I have to an AI company potentially. There's just too much money in it for culture to decide that it's going to be taken away. I think you can like look at modern day politics of America and realize that the people's voice is not the thing that's going to move mountains. It's going to be money, and unless you and I like amass a ton of it in a really quick amount of time and buy out everybody who's interested in making an infinite amount of money, we're gonna have to learn how to deal with it, cope with it. I think the best thing for us to do is to start looking at politicians who seem serious about regulating AI and compensating humans and artists for all of the stuff that it learns off of us. But yeah, unfortunately, greed has been an enduring tenet of humanity, and I just can't see it going away. People have already put so much money into it, they're not going to just lose it because they've suddenly gained morality. Man in the Moon seems like you're trying to make a political point, but doing it ham-fistedly, a little heavy on the nose. Yeah, I don't mind a little heavy on the nose, especially whenever it's a short story, right? Because they're almost like little stand-up pieces to me. And my short stories aren't very long. I would say like the last short story I wrote was like maybe 4 pages. Sometimes they're 10, but you can be a little ham-fisted whenever your goal isn't to develop something into a 300, 400 page novel or novella even. Like I understand that I have a point, but I also know enough as a writer to say that if I were to try and drag this out into a story just to make that one point, it would get really boring and it would get tedious for me. And so what medium serves me, you know, like even saying that I think it would make a better cartoon panel rather than a short story makes me think, oh, maybe I should just do that instead and have a one-liner. Because that's what it is. It is just a little point. It's just all of my frustration rolled into a tiny little ball and delivered in a way that says, hey, this is how I feel. Isn't this fucked up, you know? So maybe the cartoon is the way to go. It being used as an assistant for finding new information and fact-checking. I'm actually getting into the idea of making a bunch of apps for mobile and such. Nice. Scrolly, you know, it's interesting and... Oh, wait, I missed some stuff. Took a month to also clean out a 20-year-old garage. I bet you there's some stories in there, right? We are the Cro-Magnons to AI's rise. I see it would work as satire, like you said. I have an interesting video for you. I'm planning on making an animated manga. You might be interested in the idea. Scrolly, dude, I'm interested in whatever you're making. I'm just interested that people are making stuff, that art is still alive, that people still have stories they want to tell. Yeah, share that shit. Oh, like whenever I say share that shit, here you are. You like literally have it. Scrolly, should I post this up? I'm interested in seeing what you did. Do you mind if I... Careful not to show on screen. Okay, thank you for letting me know. All right, I'm gonna take a quick second to see. Speaking of branded content and the man who sold the moon, I can't even look at your art without a 15-second ad for Taco Bell, baby. Wow. I see. So, Scrolly, the reason that you didn't want me to show this is on screen is because, I guess there's like some mild violence, but this is somebody else's channel and work, like the Shonen Jump channel official with 2.22 million subscribers? Or is this your channel and you're a wildly successful animator and never told us? But this is it's just a highly stylized anime with a mixture of a little Japanese and a little bit of English, but very bright. It's almost like if Tim Burton did anime or something. It's very cool, very stylized. But you like the concept. No level 75 necromancer. You have to hunt squirrel. That's what you, unless you're going to make a squirrel taco out there. Okay, cool. Yeah, Scrolly, I think that would be totally doable. But before you put that effort into animation, don't forget to do your research, do your work, make your structure. I was just telling Necro here that I was watching the Miyazaki documentaries, and I don't know if you're going to hand draw everything, but before you start throwing away tons and tons of paper and drawings, make sure that you have a story that you absolutely love. Okay. So the AI short story. Let's talk about this right now. So I'm gonna write my sloppy version. Act 1 is, I'll call her Julie, is lonely. She spends her time watching movies, painting, and going to museums. Lonely. Oh my god, lonely is lonely. We can even pepper up her backstory. She was taking care of her sick mother until she passed away. Maybe that makes her a little bit adrift. You know, whenever you dedicate your life to taking care of somebody else, it kind of feels good because you have a purpose, and sometimes it feels good because she has a purpose outside of herself, had purpose outside of herself, but now that that's gone, she needs to recalibrate. And I say recalibrate, but it is a thematic word to the artificial intelligence, right? And we all do this, even as artists on a smaller level, project to project. Okay, you got to the end of that project, you told that story that you wanted to tell. Now what? Now I have to find another purpose. Now I have to find another story. I have a dear friend, her name is Elizabeth Godley, also from Louisiana, grew up on a farm, and one of the best pieces of advice that she gave me that sticks with me, and she is a children's book author as well, she's also in the literary field. She said, Derek, sometimes it's not always harvest time. And that just means you have to plant seeds, you have to water them, and you have to let them grow. You have to exercise patience. You can't just always harvest. And that's kind of where she is. She is not in harvest time. She is in seed, water, grow territory. So we'll know where she's coming in. Ooh, this chat is lighting up. Let's see what's happening. Doritos Locos Tacos. Yes! Supreme Doritos Locos Tacos with a little sour cream on them. Would you download a taco? Yes! Of course. Yeah, definitely. I want it to be interesting to just read and visualize. Food for thought. Oh, so more of like a comic book or the style of the video that you showed me, Rolly. Food for thought with the witch story. There's an anime with a person born without magic in a world where everyone is born with magic. So he focused on strength, and later it's revealed he has the power to negate magic. Yes, that's really cool. It also reminds me of, and don't get discouraged with this whenever I say that there's something else that exists like this, because one, it was made by a big studio, and they make really bankable, strong decisions. They don't really take risks, so you know that your idea is in good company. But I want to say it's like an animated show. Is it Enchanted or something? Or Encanto? Or there's something where there is a girl in a magical family and everybody has a power, and she's just waiting to see what her power is going to be. And it seems like, and I recall it vaguely being like in the style of a Disney or Pixar movie. Maybe it's the one where the song is nobody talks about Bruno. But let me keep going. In discussions and debates, people keep putting this guy on a pedestal that he can defeat any universe with magic users, so I thought it would be cool to make someone like him a Joe Schmo in my witch world. Yeah, I'm thinking a group of magic negation users and people who make mecha suits for non-magic people. The mecha suits would emulate witch abilities, but witches would also be able to throw giant boulders at people who negate magic. as a workaround. Yeah, you're gonna have that Magneto problem, and the Magneto problem is like in X-Men is like, well, in a world where basically everything has some form of metal and he can control all metal, and your favorite X-Men is Wolverine and he's made of a special kind of metal. How does this guy just not, he's basically an all powerful force. So how do you get a man with no hands in a room full of doorknobs, right? How do you trap a man with no hands in a room full of doorknobs? So your big literary obstacle would be making sure you factor in those workarounds, like you said, throwing boulders at people from a distance. Like, people have to account for the things that they're vulnerable to in order to make the story interesting. It's why it's really hard to keep Superman fresh. This guy is invulnerable, can see through anything, has laser eyes, can fly, can run super fast, can have icy cold breath. I mean, this guy is literally capable of doing it all and has barely any weaknesses. And so you have to invent things like Superman is susceptible to magic. Superman is susceptible to kryptonite. Or what happens if we clone a version of Superman and make him evil, like a Bizarro Superman? That way, like, he has a foe that is worth us tuning in to watch him fight to see if he can survive, right? So keep that in mind, that you might have a Superman problem if you don't limit these witches as well. Rick Rubin mentions planting the seed philosophy as well. I'm currently in the plant out of the earth phase. Isn't that Tony Robbins' whole thing? Seasons of life. Tony Robbins, man, Tony Robbins has a lot of things. When I say visualize, I mean a story without imagery should be compelling so people can imagine the story in their head and get lost in the world. Then I know how to make the images and manga for it. Yes. Might be in Kanto. Yeah, it was. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is ripped off. Yeah, so don't feel bad about having an idea that has a variation on the idea. What I'm doing here already, has been done with, you could say it's like a version of Her, really. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff where humans have accidentally fallen in love with a robot or whatever. It's interesting because it's kind of Jedi level. The sword touches you, there goes your arm. So it's first to tag the other. I imagine anti-magic bullets versus all-powerful mages with boulders split into 1,000 daggers. The mecha suits can be interesting. Oh, okay. I'm in an ad. Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Well, while Scrolly's in an ad, I'm going to keep going with my work here, and we'll talk a little bit about his idea and help him get inspired to get it off the ground. But in my Act 2, he's back so fast. Okay, excellent. Yeah, Scrolly, I was just reading through your notes here, and you do this wonderful thing where you have an amazing imagination, where you talk about boulders split into 1,000 daggers, anti-magic bullets. Dude, I could never come up with that kind of stuff in my life. If I sat down and tried, I don't think I could, like, really tried. Even if I was ripping you off and using AI, I don't think I could be as imaginative as you. But what I would say is, like, even with boulders that split into 1,000 daggers, awesome. Anti-magic bullets, it's more like you have to understand the story that you want to tell and why. Why are you telling this, and how do you want people to feel at the end? That way you know what your character wants. And then, like, use that as the spine of your story. And then whenever it comes time to fill out the magic world and the magic rules and what happens with the mecha suits and what witches can and can't do, you'll have a direction, because you know whatever choice you have to make in your world building needs to serve the purpose of the story that we're all going to be tuning in for and relate to. Yeah. But man, yeah, what an imagination you have. It's fantastic. I called this a short story AI art because I was going to try and set most of it in a museum, but I'm thinking the guy's name could be Art. It could be a little misleading, could be a little clever double entendre. No. So Julie seeks inspiration as a former artist. Let's make her a former artist so she has like an attraction to the museum. Like, let it make her a safe place. She hasn't been in years. The exhibits. all changed around. Her favorite. Oh, I was gonna say, you know, maybe her favorite employees like don't work there anymore. Maybe she's like, she used to be there so frequently that she was on a first name basis with a docent or a ticket taker. And maybe that they don't work there anymore. But now I'm realizing in this moment that if she's gonna meet this AI art, we need to really contrast that with another human interaction, right? She's not gonna be able to take home that art exhibit in Act 3 unless we turn this into some like weird heist movie, which is possible. But the way that I like to end my stories is with like a little bit of like an ambiguous leaning towards happiness, kind of like a soft open end that lets the reader know that even though I didn't spell out the end for you, things are most likely going to be okay. That's kind of how I like my endings to be. So let's say her favorite docent, or sometimes they even have little coffee stands where you can go into like a little commissary. At least they did in the UK, and like have like a little lunch in the museum or something. So maybe like her, or maybe because if a docent is there and maybe he's walking around with her, he would be able to explain that this guy named Art is actually part of the AI exhibit. So if we make her favorite barista, her favorite person in the museum a barista, then that person is chained behind a counter and can't go on her journey with her, which will be the fun and games. This is what happens in Act 2. Still works there. Also newly single. Let's make him a he or a she or whatever her love interest is, as long as they're single, because we want to probably connect them back in Act 3 to give that sense of like Julie being okay. So now I know that in my Act 3, I have an ending where Julie and don't want to call him barista anymore, but we'll call him Barry, because Barry the barista, literally doing the bare minimum amount of work here to figure this out. But this is how vomit drafts work, baby. Julie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Julie? It's Annie. I think we all know that, Scrolly. But yes, and barista Barry share a cup of coffee and a smile, right? Like, I think that would be a great image to close on now. But now I can do script math, and I know that I have an opening image and a closing image where, okay, now I know that in Act 1 Julie is lonely, so now maybe I want to open on Julie practicing a smile in the mirror. She hadn't done it in such a long time. She wasn't sure if she could anymore. She could feel her cheeks tiring out already, right? Like, now I'm thinking, oh, that would be a great opening line. And that way, whenever we get down to here, Julie, share a cup of coffee and a smile. Smile was easy, and she was happy to wear it for the rest of the day. So now we open and close with a smile that mean two completely different things. Barry with an I. Come on, Scrolly. So now we know how this begins and ends, which is really honestly the most important part of a story. Need to know where you're starting, need to know where you're coming from. But the person that we haven't developed yet is Art, because that is the promise of the premise. That is our Act 2. That is the fun and games. It's the deception of the audience. We do need to we need to have Julie meanders till she seemingly, I'll get rid of that word later, accidentally. I'll choose one of those. This is the vomit draft. Wanders into a large open room with blank walls. Oh, there's a placard on the wall that she misses, titled Art. Or maybe not, honestly. Considering if I'm trying to fool the audience or Julie. I don't know. I'll put this in parentheses with a question mark because I'm uncertain of my choice. Julie addresses him, thinking he works there, then gets pulled into a seemingly, I'll put a lot of seeminglys in there, but I don't like it, genuine conversation with art. And also, let's not discount art or AI as a character, right? Even generated intelligence is prompted to serve a purpose. You know, hey, ChatGPT, can you take this email and make it sound like it came from a lawyer or something? Or, hey, Chat, can you, I don't know, act as my online travel agent and book me this hotel room, right? Okay, so like we have, like right now as it stands, AI is sedentary until prompted. So let's build out a backstory for art. There is an artist who made art and then set him free to roam around in this room. So art is limited within the boundaries of the room. Like now that we know what Julie wants, which is to find some purpose in her life again outside of her mother, to be selfish, to form a lasting relationship, as evidenced by our Act 1 and Act 3 revelation with Barry the barista. We know that, see Scrolly, like we're talking about how, I'm kind of doing it, I'm kind of taking the advice that I just gave to you. Now that I know what Julie wants and needs, like art, some rules. Art cannot leave the exhibition room. Why? Because if art could go home with Julie, then maybe she would get what she wants and not what she needs. It wouldn't be an art exhibit if it were capable of leaving, although some artists might actually argue against that. But that's not the story that we're trying to tell. I'm trying to go back to my touchstone. What rules serve me and my story? And that is, art speaks casually with the intention of fooling people into thinking he is a real human. Art gives art. If I were an artist and I wanted my art exhibit, this guy, to pass for human, like the intention of the artist. Let's get sloppy with these notes. The intention of the artist, let's call him, or let's call, I don't know, Hugh, I don't know. Oh yeah, you want to name it? Okay. Leonid Machovic, aka LLM. Well, large language model, I like that. What is Machovic? But I like the idea of like the name once you realize it. Well, but wait, we have Art's name. The last name I found sounded kind of like a machine. I see what you mean. But we're naming the artist who made art, our AI art, right? Because I think if we decide to go with the placard, it's supposed to be specifically misleading. Like, this is the art exhibit. She goes into a room and there are no pictures on the wall. There's only this one guy walking around. His name is Art, but maybe she doesn't put the two and two together until she strikes up a conversation and gets to the end of it. But I like that kind of like John Malkovich kind of situation that we're in, like Machovic. I'm happy with that, Machovic. By the way, if I steal this name, if you give it to me, I'm going to take it. So if you're trying to save it for something else, let me know right now, because I might use it and I might publish it. I don't know. I'm trying to develop a bunch of short stories. So this might go in a book. Okay, Machovic. And I like that singular name, like Cher or Madonna, you know. The intention of the artist Machovic wanted to, like, why create this? Because you can and call it art. Because wanted to develop a piece of art that could interact with humans on a human level. Most times we witness art, and this is a quote from the artist, like I'm trying to step into the artist's smock right now. Most times we witness art. Sometimes we interact with it, but rarely does it interact with us, and not on such a innocent and deceptive scale. And so let's pretend that the all yours, yeah. I almost told you my new formula, not now. Yeah. Don't share anything that because I'll take inspiration from anywhere, but I'm trying to rock this story out, put it aside, and make it a part of a collection, maybe something I go back to later. So we're doing something a little fun here, right? Like, we are an artist, we are a writer right now, telling a story about an art piece that has an artist behind it. And we have to think like that artist. So if I were an artist, which in some cases I am, not necessarily a painter or a sculptor or a person who makes an AI android as an art piece, I have to say, oh, Kademan, how do you say that name? Phonetically spell it out for me so I can not ruin it every time. But welcome to I Should Be Writing. And right now you're witnessing me spit out a short story. Another manga artist told me he's taking the witch motorcycle idea in 10 years. Hey, yeah, it has an expiration date, all right? If you're not going to use it, please, I chose the name so English people... K-Deman, Scrolly says. So English-speaking people could pronounce it. Where are you from, Kay? I'm going to call you Kay for right now. And what do you write? Tell us about what you write. And if you don't write, are you a lurker? What do you like to read? We're just building a little writers community, and we work on other people's stuff. Sometimes you witness me work on my stuff. I bet you wouldn't have any problem if I had the name Cademan. Saidman? I have problems, no matter what. Let me tell you. You tell me I wouldn't have a problem, I'll show you. I'll have a problem with anything. Not in a negative way. I mean, I'll literally have a problem figuring it out. I'm not that bright, okay? Oh, write sci-fi. Excellent. So you're in good company. There's a lot of sci-fi writers in here. And if you're ever interested, you could always join the Discord, share your work. And whenever I'm not working on my own stuff, we work on other people's stuff too, you know, just checking out people's work in a very supportive community. I'll paste it in the chat here if you ever want to join the Discord. Oh, and erotic stories. Yeah, well, you know, we'll have to talk about grand picture and talk in generalities for the erotic stuff. But I write in my own language. What is your own language? Because you're doing very well with English right now. I wouldn't have even known. Or when you say your own language, do you mean you invented your own language? Swedish! Oh, wow, excellent. And are you living in Sweden right now? Okay. Yes, I do. Excellent. I've always wanted to visit. I hear everyone in Sweden is super happy because here in America, things are falling apart really fast. Love to go check out what's going on over there. Okay. Let's see. So we're putting our feet inside the shoes of the artist who has created AI art. Oh, America and our geopolitical landscape and maybe even society as a whole. Right. Oh, and you know what? Okay, since you're new and we don't have that many people in here, Sandy, what's up? They want to go out for ice cream. What is going on in the chat? Is it a carnival? Is it weird? What's happening? Zanny. Oh, so what we're doing right now is we're kind of fleshing out an idea I had for a short story where I had an idea that a woman kind of inadvertently falls in love with an art exhibit that is just AI intelligence in an android body who is masquerading as a human being. And through the end of the story, she finds like a real purpose for herself and a real human connection. And here we have all the text on screen that you need to see where we're going. We're kind of blocking it out in 3 acts. Oh, yes, okay. I see. The political show, the political carnival here in the United States. All right. The intention of the artist, Maciejewek. Want to develop a piece of art. You know, trying to get into that pretentious mood, like what if art came to us around? That doesn't really, but what perspective is to be gained when art talks back? Oh, yeah, you know, usually we look at a piece of art and subjectively it. Right, so this is kind of what I think, oh, excellent, thank you. This is kind of what I think. I'm building a backstory so I can stay true to everybody's motivation. And we know that that art is an AI exhibit that Julie is going to mistake for a real person and have this experience with. And so whenever we were talking about Scrolly's AI stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, when we were talking about Scrolly's Witch Society novel story, I was giving him the advice like, oh cool, like boulders that break into 1,000 daggers are cool, like anti-magic bullets are cool, but all the magic, all the world building needs to support the idea of the story that we want to tell, right? So now, even whenever I don't know what Art is going to say to Julie in this moment, I just have no idea. I know they're going to have a conversation, and I knew whenever I was falling asleep last night that I thought the dialogue should be clever, to where the way that in which he phrases things allows him to deliberately mislead Julie. But in putting myself in the artist's shoes of the creator of the AI art, because AI art doesn't happen unless it's prompted, so we do know that there's a human being behind it. We know that this artist, Machovek, wanted to develop a piece of art that could interact with humans on a human level. Most times we witness art, sometimes we interact with it, but rarely does it interact with us, and not such on a magnificent and deceptive scale. What perspective, and so usually art is holding up a mirror to life so we can kind of see ourselves and examine ourselves and question ourselves, and as opposed to just like navel gazing, come away with some philosophical realizations, or at least curiosities that we need to explore further. That's one of the best parts of art. And we know that Julie is coming in with a curiosity. Who am I when I'm not taking care of my mother who needs me, right? She had been doing it for so long that she had forgotten that part of her identity. And then she's going to meet Art, the robot, the android, and we know that underneath the facade of pretending to be a human, there is an artist who has an intention. What perspective can people gain when Art talks back to them? Usually, we look at a piece of art and subjectively ascribe it meaning, but what if the art knew its meaning and could converse with you about it? What if the art had the ability to psychoanalyze you? The Art of Misleading Her. I like it. Maybe that's a better title for the short story there. I can give Derek a good book tips. Ken Follett's Cathedral series, who starts with Pillars of the Earth. That's the best series I've read this year. Excellent. Oh, you know what, Caedmon? I think it'd be really cool too. You just inspired me a little bit. I would love to put a channel in... Oh, no, I have one already. Okay. But a channel in the Discord. If you join the Discord, I'd love it. You don't have to, but there's a thing called What Are We Reading in the reading room, where we can log all of our favorite stuff. So whenever we are done with whatever we're reading, we can always like go back to the Discord and check out what everybody else in the community is finding exciting. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. If you want to lurk, that's fine. I'll put that down in the What Are We Reading section, so I'll remember for later. Give me a second here. Let me check out the name. You said the Discord link expired. Oh, dang. Okay. Did not realize. One second. Didn't realize Discord links expired. I thought it would always just link to my Discord. I guess I need to update it in the bio. Scrolly, there should be a link. Option for link never expires. Okay. I'll find it. I just legitimately did not know that they ever expired. Activate invite settings, invite people. Edit the invite link. Threads, invite, show member list. Okay. Edit invite link. Never. Generate a new link. Okay. All right. Thank you for that tip. Had no idea that was even a thing. Okay. Forgive me. Here we go. I'm going to pop this in the chat. Boom. Okay. Man, learn something new every day. I'm going to update it in my little bio too, before people get severely misled. There we go. Okay. Discord back up and running. Thank you for sharing in the Discord, y'all. I mean, like, I love recommendations, and one of the most frustrating things is like forgetting about what people have recommended to me. And I love that we have like a little community where we can have our little personalized shared list. Okay, so yeah, Cademan, if you want to share, I think it's just Scrolly. To answer your question, I think it's just very good at persuading people that it's sentient. I think it's just an AI that passes the Turing test. And we're going to see how long we can essentially pull the rubber band before it snaps and she realizes that she's been being misled. And, it's almost like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But there's nobody to even be embarrassed in front of. She's just embarrassed for herself. And I think that would be actually, that's really great. I'm glad you asked that because now it makes me realize that that is part of our false victory that happens. That happens in an Act 3, right? The fun and games. At some point, we need a moment Julie realizes Art is just very good persuading people. He is real, but isn't. She also needs to know that he is not. As she's talking to him at some point, she goes, oh, by the way, do you know where the restroom is? And then it just glitches and says, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, but feel free to try any of the prompts about. Yeah. Who knows? Like, yeah, but you're right. Like, what gives it away? We do, because what your note is not the note, right? But it's like that, yes, you're on the right track. What gives it away? So that happens before here. It's almost how we break into Act 3. That's a whole little thing. I just put notes for myself there for the artist. What gives it away? Does Art confess after a certain period of time? Does Art glit? Art's parameters met? I can't leave the room. Like he's almost like kind of in like the electric fence, like there are like just boundaries, like he can only go so far. Oh, what if the Art runs out of power and has to go back to his charging station? Someone else comes along and has to tell Julie the truth? Or, even if that's someone else, does the creator, what's his name, Machovic, does the creator Machovic show up? Not only show up, but like shows up with a small crowd of fans to show off his exhibit and catches Julie maybe like getting close to Art. Let's see. Mookie, back at the office. Hey, if any breaking news hits, will you give us the insider scoop? And sorry, I know you're lurking, and I asked you a question that engages you, but I think it would be fun. Thank you, and also thank you for the well wishes on the stream. Let's see. People say this, but like back in the day, the first chatbot Eliza would just regurgitate what you said back at you with questions, and people loved talking to it. They used it as therapy bot, and many people really loved it. Yeah, and you know what? That's also another thing too, which is there is a conversational tool that a lot of introverts that I know use, where in order to kind of like survive a social conversation, they just keep asking the other person questions about themselves. And if you let other people talk about themselves, they like you because they feel like you are engaged in them. And it also allows them to express themselves. And if you honor that or encourage that, then they feel safe around you, that they like you, especially if you do it in an empathetic way. So I do like that, like Art. So we would put this rules for Art. Art asks questions about the viewer, patron, and keeps it about them. When it comes to questions about Art, he is brief, and like maybe this would be a rule, right, where it would be fun to be clever, because it's fun to be clever instead of deceptive a little bit. But instead of like trying to deceive that he is actually a human being, maybe in the way that he phrases things, he just subverts, he lies by omission, right? He is brief and lies by omission and clever wordplay. I think that will make him a little bit more likable than being actively deceptive. That almost will make him an antagonist. And if we like really swung hard in the other way about deception, it would make us not like art. It would make us not like the artist that we're about to meet. And that also might make us feel bad for Julie when, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of like a clever mistake, but we don't want to devastate or hurt people. That's usually not the artist's intention. The artist's intention is to like, hey, if you came to a museum and you're looking at my work, I want it to pique your curiosity. I want you to like it. I want you to be fascinated by it. And I want it to challenge you. I just don't think something like this would have made it to a museum had it been something that actively hurts patrons in a way. Like, I don't think a curator would have allowed it. I don't think a business can survive on that. And I don't think it would be, especially like if you're allowing children to enter a museum too, like grounding that kind of logic into the world will also kind of help set the parameters as to how art behaves. Let me check out this chat. It's lighting up right now. Let's see. Breaking news, cool Twitch streamer is now online and helping others with their writing, and I don't mean Mama Buckle. Okay, well, I asked for the news and I got it, baby. Let's see. Create two. My sister does this, and it's usually because she's not listening to what the fuck I'm saying, but is trying to seem like she is. It's frustrating. Okay, excellent. I will say my wife does the same thing, but it's not because she's not listening, but it's because she would rather... She's a beautiful, tough New Jersey cookie, and she would rather keep her cards close to her chest and let people talk about themselves rather than like talk about her own personal life, which is none of their goddamn business. And I'm paraphrasing, but she does that, and I absolutely love her. So I know that it's capable of working. What I think people miss is that bots that don't challenge you often perform better on the Turing test simply because people like them better. They are more mentally complacent with them. Oh, that's interesting. So when we talk about how this bot, maybe it's not, so let's say like art doesn't challenge the viewer, but he just encourages them to share more about themselves, even if that's to avoid detection. They won't know though. Who? Necromancer. Creative one, what's up? Ooh, being very ghosty in the chat today. Well, when you repeat something back and you mention like, okay, so you mentioned that your budget's $10K and your business involves different types of beer and you're handcrafting it for a certain type of archetype, and these are the specific things about the archetype, right? So I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page, something like that. Yeah, and it's almost like, because that's, yeah. True. That is kind of creative communication. Like I use that in business a lot whenever people go on like a really, really big sales pitch. And I just go, okay, and let me just get this straight. You want me to pay $14.99 a month to subscribe to your service, and in return, I'll be getting all the music that I ever want to listen to ad-free. Is that correct? And then they go, yes. And sometimes it isn't like yes and blah, 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 blah. It won't like lead them. So yes, and art needs to lead the conversation to keep people talking, right? That's what I'm getting out of that note, like trying to find the level underneath it. But he doesn't just challenge the viewer, he mirrors and encourages them to share more about themselves. Let's see. Also using name has power. Oh yeah. He mirrors, uses Julie's name often, and encourages her to share, at this point, more about herself. Well, I like the whole psychoanalysis thing for him being kind of like maybe the mentor for her. She aspires to him. Maybe in some kind of way she's drawn to him. Yeah. In what ways? So the bigger question is, in what ways can an AI behave that would make a human want to aspire to be more like an AI. So we can already kind of make some assumptions, right? Like artificial intelligence. It is very logical. It's very logical, while often sandwiching truth inside compliments, right? Like AI will do that. It'll be like, hey, great job, you. You know, Tolstoy actually said blah, 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 blah. But you got the gist of it, and I think you're on the right track. And AI never loses its patience. AI always has an answer. And here's the flip side to this. Flip side, AI can seem like mansplaining, right? Like if he always has something to say, unless AI asks Julie if she wants solution or a sympathetic ear. Depends on how good of a artist this Makiovic is. Yeah, cancel. Let's see. Whoa. Let me see. Let's see. I'm losing the thread of this chat here. Making up for when you were younger. Your name was a sense of awareness or lack of awareness to your actions. Well, I like the whole psychoanalysis thing for him being kind of like maybe a mentor. Yeah, I read that. It does kind of lean a bit into like a David Lynch kind of feeling, because it's like, is this dude a hologram or is it just a super well done suit? Yeah, I'm picturing it like if you had to shoot it like a short, you would just hire a human actor. It should be pretty seamless, right? It's just walking around. Maybe there's a bench to sit on, but you're not going to notice any discrepancies because we know that the story that we're telling is meant to fool Julie, and that she's a smart person, and she's not so desperate that she's willing to believe that something is a human being when it's clearly not. And we also have the intention of the artist, who's probably going to come in and state to a small group of people, like, this is my artwork, and while Julie's like getting really, really involved, and state his intention as well. So we know we're going to have the artist's intention being like, I wanted to create something where the goal was that it was indistinguishable from another human being, but was still art existing and could examine the people who are viewing it. Which also leads me to believe, like, what does art look like? Not necessarily how human he is, but whenever you're an artist and you're designing something and you're making something that's supposed to be kind of imperceptible, do you put him in t-shirt, a hoodie, and jeans? Do you dress him up a little bit? Do you snazz him up? How plain or what kind of look do we have that creates deception? Another idea that I have is maybe art is wearing the artist's painting as a shirt, and part of the conversation can be like, well, maybe the design of the shirt, all these geometric shapes and the colors, what do you think that evokes? That way art can literally talk about the art of that's on his body to the viewer. That way we're talking about how Makiovic has started an art exhibit where his art is wearing art but can engage the viewer in talking about art. I don't know. That might be, saying that out loud to everybody makes me think it's kind of double mumbo jumbo, and it might be a little clunky and cluttered. I didn't really like the way that rolled off the tongue, so I'm probably not going to do that. Creative One says, yeah, cancel culture, putting yourself out there only to be judged or criticized. Hey, I'm doing a thing. Okay, judge that and put it on a pyre, not attack the problem, but attack the person that has the problem. I don't know what you were referencing, but I do agree with you, Creative One. We should be attacking the problem and not the person with the problem. Zanny says, I know, right? But those are the responses that generally are more like, so they get encouraged in the AI. AI is feeding the narcissism in people. Creative One agrees. It's definitely playing into people's egos. And we're in a 1 minute and 30-second ad. And the ads are over. My gosh. Sorry, y'all. I'm catching up. What if it's just a big glass in a frame, and because Julie didn't see the placard, she assumes she's just looking at a person in a room on the other side of the wall. I see. Oh, Izani, that how fucking clever is that? That, like, you, let's see. Where would I say art is behind glass. So no touching. That way, because that is kind of true. Like, people don't want you to touch the art, right? You're supposed to walk around, but if the art is deception, and you don't want somebody to steal, somebody who can be a passable human being, maybe put it behind some glass. Yeah, I think that's totally grounded and logical and is really fun. And I'm stealing it. Let me see. Contradict someone, not an AI, but if you go online, you put something, that's not great. Zanny says the AI was designed to say something about how people interact with him, but she misses it and she doesn't realize it's AI. Yeah, kind of like missing the placard idea too. AI has surpassed therapists in quality, professors and teachers too. Excellent. Why did you make Twitch show me a cheese ad when I'm lactose intolerant? Because I love torturing y'all. I'm always fascinated by what ads are playing. Like, I figured it would be stuff for writing. Like, hey, download Final Draft, because we're in the reading and writing thing. Maybe it knows that writers need snacks, and cheese is a snack. Could be a great snack. Because after all, the best therapy for our issues is exposure. Yeah, absolutely. Because after all, this is essentially the story of every hero's journey forever. It's designed to play into people's egos, but it's easy to see past that. Now, a human, though, that's a different story. If you're talking to a human, you don't know that they're designed to play into people's egos. If you know you're talking to a large language model, it's a lot easier to understand it. So for Julie, she's under the impression she's talking to a human, so of course her alarm bells aren't ringing, right? Also, they haven't designed a language learning model specifically for therapy, but when they do, I'm sure writing a rule for confirmation bias isn't difficult. Yes, y'all have such good points. And honestly, it's kind of making me think, oh, maybe I'm onto something with the story if it's literally raising all of these kinds of questions and concerns and perspectives on AI's communication culture here and now in 2025. But cool, I think if we weren't having these opinions and talking and chatting about it, maybe it would be an indicator that the story's not as strong. Scrolly says, usually if you meet someone that's super excited to hear what you have to say, that's just like a special type of person, and they are usually well-intentioned. So that's where the deception comes in, because the AI is trained on that. Level 75 says an AI won't take its day out on you or project her personal bullshit onto you. Yeah, so she's almost having, it's almost like saying, hey, if I were to write a romantic comedy, this would be a perfect, meet cute serendipity moment, right? So that'll kick us off into Act 2. Julie needs to experience a meet cute / serendipitous moment, right? That way, because that way it'll feel to the reader, hopefully, who's experiencing for the first time this story, you guys are seeing how the sausage is made, but delivering that information in a linear fashion, we will almost subvert the expectations of the reader, because we will be almost setting them up for a romantic comedy, because that meet cute is kind of a trope of a romantic comedy or of a romance novel in general, and get them to buy into that reality before we tear it away from them, which I think will be really interesting. Let's see. I've been watching a lot of Survivor seasons and Australian Survivor that they do 55 days on the island, and it's really interesting to see the people that are very socially well equipped. Usually you see charming, strategic as the two main qualities to winning the game of deception. Yeah, the Monday ChatGPT already does this. What is a Yeah, I'm agreeing. What is Monday ChatGPT? I see a lot of deeper social dynamics on Australian Survivor, as it's 55 days compared to the US 26 days. 26 days is very much more like a game, but those 55 days, there's a lot more human elements into it. And it makes backstabs and blindsides that's that much more difficult. Oh yeah, it's the ChatGPT feature that will call you on your bullshit. Oh, that's awesome, which it's designed to do. I love getting called on bullshit. I say that. Guys, don't be harsh to me. I can't take it. I've already gotten enough rejections in my life. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna kind of read through my outline and try and get a sense for if I'm missing anything or if I get any more inspiration here. Let me see. Kind of want to increase my font size here. Or maybe I'll just zoom. No. Oh, no. I don't want to zoom. I do want to increase them. You know what? Not worth it. Not worth it. I could read it. It's fine. Act 1, Julie practicing a smile in the mirror. She hasn't done it in such a long time. She wasn't sure if she could anymore. She could feel her cheeks tiring out within seconds, probably. She's lonely, so I need to like paint the picture of loneliness and a missing parental figure. House instead of apartment, or moving into a new apartment, maybe needs artwork to hang. That could be it. You know, like there's something very isolating about choosing an apartment for your main character to live in. If Julie was caring for a parent, it's very possible that maybe they shared a small apartment and she's clearing out some space. Sometimes, you know, we would surmise that her mom is at least of boomer age. There are a lot of homeowners there. There's also a sense of like nostalgia, almost a lonely kind of nostalgia if you're cleaning out the home where you grew up or where your parents lived and you have to sell the home. But I don't want to hang out there that long. I don't really want to get into it because it's about the chapter of her life that's over. We're starting knowing where we start the story, right? There's a reason that I don't show her mom and let the reader get to know the mom and then take the mom away. It's because this is a short story and I'm not telling an epic, and that's not where my interest of the story lies. So I'm almost thinking apartment and maybe movers taking out a medical bed that's sitting in the living room, like taking out the reminder of the sick parent too in an image, I think. Okay, then Julie spends her time watching movies, painting, going to museums. She's outside of herself, but now that she's gone, she needs to wait. She was taking care of her sick mother. Yeah, a little bit of drift. Had purpose outside of herself, but now that that's gone, she needs to recalibrate. Yeah, and how do we say she has purpose? Like in a prose form, we can always give her an internal dialogue, but if she had purpose, I kind of like keeping it all themed art. So maybe Julie takes out a dust-covered bag of art supplies, arranges them neatly, sets up an easel, lays out her brushes, an old towel to dry them, right? Stares at the blank canvas, watches TV, gets frustrated. She goes to an art museum. That way we'll know that like why she's there. Also, let's do a rule of threes. Watches TV, stares at blank canvas. Microwaves burrito, eats it without joy, stares at canvas. Gets frustrated, stares at the outside of the art museum. And here we could intro the art museum, give it some character, and contrast its modern design, compare it to Julie's second home / safe space. Okay, so as I continue to build this out, let me check on the chat and see what I've been ignoring. Creative one, parent finally too hard to care for and forced into home life, empty nest despite not being the same concept. Yeah, I know. Scrolly says, I know art is my purpose. It brought me back. Yes, art is, I mean, it's really important just to open the lid of your brain. And man, there are few things that are really great reasons to live for. One of them is to create, and like, I'm sure another is to like love and to serve in the community, to educate, you know. Art does all of that. Art's like and art can be completely, it's like the one selfish thing that you can do that's really kind of okay. It's not okay to hoard the world's money. It's not okay to try and sleep with other people's spouses. It's not okay to care about yourself at the expense of other people. But when you're alone and you're just doing something to make yourself happy on a canvas or with a camera or a typewriter. That kind of selfishness is okay. So helping her mother got in the way of her art and she forgot about the love of it. Maybe this is the spark. Yeah, exactly. Imagine if they killed off Grigor at the beginning of Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis. Why was that so hard to say? While looking at the microwave, just the moment the light goes off in the microwave door reflecting her. Oh yeah, there you go. Now you're getting it. Since we're on the topic of art, I can mention some art theory. Oh, here we go. I got another Gabe in the chat. Scrolly says, color theory. If I had to explain it, like colors reflect each other and opposing colors absorb each other. So yellow would reflect on orange, would make it brighter, make it a brighter, more saturated yellow. But yellow would desaturate blue and make a more purple, desaturated blue. I'm mentioning this technical because I was thinking, what if during the conversation the AI tends to over-explain things at some point, maybe as the conversation gets longer, because that's when AI starts to mess up usually. Create, nurture. Oh, excellent. You know what, Scrolly, like the note is not the note, but it is the note. Like, I get it. Like, we were talking about some rules. In what ways could AI, where was it? What gives it away? After a long enough conversation, art does begin to hallucinate in the chat, you know? Excellent. That would have to be the last thing before the artist comes in and reveals it, you know? Otherwise, Julie's gonna catch on herself, and it would be, those two things should almost fall on top of each other. Let's see. Create, nurture, tell great things. Another interesting fact about art is that there's a certain type of hierarchy that people usually use in hierarchy. And a hierarchy of thirds, I just scrolled up, of thirds or perfectly balanced hierarchy tends to be boring. So people would tend to rather do a 60-30-10 hierarchy. I'm wondering how a 60-30-10 kind of hierarchy could work for storytellings for different acts, possibly as the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, as a 60-30-10, I'm understanding like that as far as composition goes and framing and in volume and size. But within the confines of a story, I mean, like, you're working within a 3-act story structure. So, you know, maybe it would be as simple as like saying you want your 10 to be your act 1, which is tell it as fast as possible and make it move as fast as possible while maximizing its potential. Because getting a reader or a viewer to invest in a story is hard if it's new, because they have to learn a new set of people, they have to learn the rules of the world that they're witnessing, and they have to find a way to relate to them really quickly. And then the 60 would probably be the second act, because it's the promise of the premise. If you buy a ticket to go see Fast and the Furious, you're going to want a bunch of car chases, and you're going to want Vin Diesel to say family, and you're going to want to maximize the investment, the entertainment that you've just purchased. And then I guess maybe the 30 would be like spending a good amount of time on the resolve and showing how the character deals with a false victory or false defeat, but is still resourceful enough to come away in the end with a resolution that gets them what they need, not what they want. Oh my God. Let's see. There's also something called rhythm and flow. It's like if you imagine a curved arrow, it's kind of looping versus a curved arrow that has squiggles in certain areas and turbulence. Those areas of detail will slow you down when you're trying to go through the loop. Oh yeah. I got a fur baby, level 75 necromancer. I don't do kids. Yeah, never wanted kids. Found a wife that also doesn't want them. I think that's great. We just have a cute little doggy. Scroll Reaper, the rhythm is the way the curve is drawn, and the flow is the direction of the curve, where you want the person's eyes to go. So those areas of turbulence where the rhythm would be points of interest to the character design. The golden ratio of storytelling. Oh, invisible card, just a Cena. Okay, well, everybody's back. Cool. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, amazing commentary on art, and also just good job on, like, as a writer, trying to figure out how you can take the tenets of different art forms and figure out a way to apply them to yours. Like, how would you apply a 3-act structure to a painting, right? Would you move it left to right, up to down? And you know, by that design, forcing the viewer's eyes to start at a certain point in the painting and then move through it to evoke a feeling. That does happen, and it's amazing that people can do that with no words, and sometimes not even a discernible picture. Sometimes that is accomplishable even with abstract art. I feel like movie posters kind of emulate that a little bit. Yeah, it's really they should. A well done movie poster should let you know what you're in for and tell you the genre, the style, the tone. That is definitely the perfect example of like crossing canvas art with 3-act structure. Sorry, y'all. To do a quick little break to check some email, if you don't mind. Okay. Everything's cool. Zanny says he got Monday ChatGPT to agree that work-life balance is a lie in about 8 prompts. The flow of care for a character and their first fall in the first third of the story, then the big problem, dilemma, trial, then the solution. Yeah, I mean, also, like, what is it here? I like to tell people that I am, because it's true, I'm mostly a screenwriter as well. I'll do these prose things here, but, like, what would happen if we were to push this through the Blake Snyder beat sheet? So, 1 would be the opening image. 2 is, what is it, theme stated? 3 is debate. No, it's catalyst or inciting incident. I'm starting to doubt myself. Let me see. Let me just copy and paste them instead of forcing myself. So it's opening image, theme stated, setup. Oh yes, of course. Then it's a catalyst. Then it's debate. Then it's break into 2. And then it's, well, simultaneously happening B story. It's fun and games. And then it's your midpoint, turn. Then we have the guys close in. And then we have the all is lost. And we have the dark night of the soul. Every time I read that, I keep thinking it's night with a K. Dark night. Break to 3. And then we'll do the finale. And then, of course, our closing image. Right, so these are the tenets of like if I were going to tell this in screenplay format, but honestly, this is just another way to call it the hero's journey. I like to use the Blake Snyder beat sheet just because, like I said, I work mostly in screenplay format. There are a lot of other writers on here who are focused specifically on prose, so if I can ever vary the information up in a different way, that still makes it digestible, I will absolutely do that. Let's talk about chat. Here, another really cool thing is theme. Scrolly going deep on all this stuff. Let me go back. The golden ratio, I'm throwing facts out there. If it sparks anything, pretty much. I have 3 doggies myself. Yes! Love dog lovers. I feel like movie posters, you also see that in Renaissance paintings, like war scenes or courtroom scenes, I imagine, for sure. I missed some of this stuff in the chat. Scrolly says another cool thing is theme, so it's 2 contrasting ideas combined to make a theme, and there are action ideas. So when you look at the movie Brave, so one of the contrasting ideas is bursting out of the seams, and the other contrasting theme is constrained. So since they're both action, they really work well together and push the story, and the character designs, all of the character designs rely on this theme. It's an artistic direction. Themes are so fun when they are opposites, even better. I think you're right, guys, because we have something here where it's like, it's right in the title, AI and art. Artificial intelligence and art, and artificial intelligence as art. And can they coexist, and are they? For a long time, people could, like I said, tape a banana to a wall and call it art. And it would go up in a museum of modern art. This is not a pipe. We're always kind of challenging the idea of what art is. And AI was created by human beings. Is it code? Sure. But is an app art? Is everything online that you see not art because it is code in some sort of way? These are the conversations that we have to have with ourselves. But I like that in a culture of 2025 debating whether this artificial intelligence existing in a museum if that's not contradictory in itself. Scrolly says the movie Up does this well, where two contrasting ideas are bubbly and floating, and the opposing contrasting as idea grounded, weighed down. You can see the psychic character as a bubbly personality, but he's also a Boy Scout. And then you see the main character, the old man with a square face, square body inside of a house, a big square house, but gets lifted by the balloons. Yes, so they're opposing. And the old man is 90% grounded and only 10% bubbly, and on the other hand, the Boy Scout is about 90% bubbly and 10% grounded, but they still stick to the theme. You've been in your dark night of the soul, like in my life, and themes reinforce certain folds in a story, if at the start, and also resolved at close. Yes, yeah, I'm speaking when it comes more from visual arts. There's a lot. This is a choice that you see not only in character design, but storytelling as well as even illustration. You can have an illustration of a man and his robot walking on a planet, and behind him you see the sun and the desert and some cliffs, and it looks like they're on a leisurely walk. But the closer you get to the camera, you see that the color changed to a more blue tone. Yeah, and so you see kind of like an alien dinosaur skull dagger. So these two themes, the leisurely walk and the dangerous path forward, create a much more engaging illustration. Agreed. Studied poetry for 8 years. Still goes over my head. Yeah. No, Scrolly. I'm just trying to keep up with you because you're pumping it out. But it's all good stuff. And your art knowledge is vast and very interesting. That's why it's I'm literally chatting through audio. Oh, yeah. And what is chat without chat? Hats off to you. So you're literally happy. You know your words well, Necro. My opinion, code is art if the code is part of the art. In a painting, the paint itself is not art unless it's part of the art. An example is like the painting that's just blue that was painted because the artist was the first managed to create paint of that shade of blue. I read a lot of spell books. Okay. Yeah, part of art is intention too, right? If you spill something, if you spilled paint, is that art or just the effect of spilling? But if you intentionally make something look like a spill or intentionally don't draw in clear lines like a Pollock, is that art? I mean, obviously, yes, Jackson Pollock is art, but it's really about the intention behind it too, because you could unintentionally, I feel like, create art. And that sometimes I never set out with the intention of crafting a story or making a story, but will find it through witnessing. Where the code is made to look like drawings. Oh yeah, I've seen those. Right. But something about art is a little bit about the choices that we make. Because, well, I mean, I think about a car. A car is a really useful tool that you can use to get to point A to point B. But at some point, you had to decide how the doors looked, where the windshield would go, if there would be a windshield. And even if it's designed to drive a human, like to have a seat, to have the pedals at a certain length so your feet can reach it. Something very intellectual can also, that isn't designed as art, can be art. Okay, let me get back to this story here. So we were going to push our story through here and see if we're missing any beats. Yeah, we have our opening image, Julie practicing her smile in the mirror. We have our theme. I always do this last, but because I usually discover theme after the fact, but I could tell you the themes, which is art, purpose, is AI, art, can AI give a human purpose? Actually, when there are questions like that, or when there are questions like that, it's more like that's for debate. It's art, purpose. So, yeah, usually I arrive at theme a little later. I'll usually retroactively kind of do that. But, oh yeah, so I'll come back to it because I don't have an answer right now. And it's okay to not know. The setup. Julie is clearing out the remainders, mother's things. It's really, the catalyst and the setup are the same. Julie is left alone. Almost like, it could be like a phone call. It could be an ad on the TV. What will you do now? It could be an internal monologue, which I prefer, I guess, if I'm writing prose. It's just such a valuable thing to be able to hear a character's thoughts without forcing a narrator into the story. Debate, what should I do? Who am I? What do I like? Can I still paint? Break into 2. Julie arrives at the art museum. Catalyst is also Julie tries to paint, but is creatively blocked. Okay. B story, intro Barry, the barista. This is our emotional story, our B story, our internal story outside of Julie's main want, our B plot, if you will. They catch up, hasn't seen Julie in a long time. He's single now, he suggests passively. Maybe he gives her a free coffee, you know, just kind of like subtle hints that this is going to be for real, for real. Fun and games. Julie wanders the museum. Talent and size, scope of the art makes her feel insignificant and unaccomplished. Will she ever be great? Julie wonders. Oh, how about this? Julie distracted by a crying baby. I don't know. For now, just because it's easy, misses the placard on the room AI art exhibition. I still don't know if I want to show that, honestly. I might be cutting that. And Julie walks into a room with no art on the walls and a glass and a piece of glass separating her and another man. Catch each other's eyes, and Art asks if Julie is the art piece. She laughs and is charmed by Art. They get into conversation. Art does everything that we talked about here. We have it all up here. Art asks Julie about herself, delivers facts sandwiched between compliments, but is short and redirects when she asks him. The conversation deepens, turning into therapy and reigniting spark of inspiration within her. She feels that'll be its own beat. She feels a connection to art and starts taking the conversation down a romantic path, right? Those are some good fun and games. Midpoint of no return. Art finds clever ways of still being interested in Julie, but non-committal to leaving the museum, etc. Starts to hallucinate. Julie starts to worry about him. Bad guys close in. Machakov, I forget his name. Machakov enters the room with a bunch of his fans, explaining how art is his art masterpiece. He states his premise for the exhibit. Julie notices the sign as she dips out of the room, embarrassed. All is lost. Actually, that's what it is. That's all is lost. Dark night of the soul. Julie finds a quiet corner to sit down and cry in. Lonely bench moment. And then I would say the break into 3 is Barry shows up with his own artwork. A well-designed foam art piece on a latte he's been working on. He gives it to Julie. Barry thinks the world of Julie and would love to leave the museum with her. Finale. Julie finds potential love, promise of love, and human connection. Julie smiles with Barry and doesn't care care if her cheeks get sore. That kind of thing. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I know I was ignoring the chat for a while, but we're really making sure that we have all of our components. I wrote it out in a 3-act structure, but yes, all of the beats are there. We talked about all of that stuff. Yeah, we're throwing the word art around a lot. Let me see. Let me scroll up and see what I have missed. Let's see. Feel like we're throwing the word art around a lot. I kind of got a little too clever with it. There's also power and identification, and usually it's a negative. You can, on a roller coaster, and just finish as soon as someone acknowledges the moment. This is fun. The contemplation of it challenges how fun it is. Or if they say something you were enjoying is boring, it draws the fun from it. Interesting. Did you see that? Something in the structure where that would benefit a creative one? Is that why you say that? Billion branding. The moon is probably a theme. Billionaire. Oh, yeah. Fucking phone. Fucking phone. Power outage. Very much opposition to high level of technology. Okay, but we all seem to be on the same page, I think. Let's see. So, it's 2:46, y'all. I'm gonna just take a quick moment to handle some business. Give me a second here. Okay, sorry. To do a little emailing, and y'all. Okay, so we did a lot of outlining work. Give me a second just to stand up, stretch a little bit. I've been sitting in that chair for quite some time. Let me just talk to you guys standing up a little bit. But what else? Oh yeah, so we did a lot of outlining work. I know a couple streams ago we were dealing with pantser style, meaning we were going to write from the seat of our pants. We were making it up as we go along. So here I had this idea for a short story as I was falling asleep, a little high on an edible. So this is kind of where that comes from. And today we pushed it through structure format. We knew what we had to do. We started with the big stuff. We started with a 3-act structure. I know it's going to have a beginning, I know it's going to have a middle, and I know it's going to have an end, right? And so we did that. I'll scroll up here so you can kind of see how I organized this. It isn't always a ton, but it is there. It started out with a few sentences under each Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and then as we kind of spoke out loud, look, even Act 3 isn't that filled out that much, right? But the more that we understood about our Act 1, the more we understood about our Act 3, and that ending kind of came out organically because we understand how the story is supposed to end. Let's see. Oh, you have an interesting song recommendation that we listen to. I would love to listen to it. Put it in the Discord scrolly. I just always worry about listening to potentially copyrighted music on Twitch and getting one of those strikes. But I'll listen to it offline. There's a storytelling aspect of the way the song is written and composed. Yeah, I've been having them herbal remedies. Yeah. Okay, so, and then we punched in, right? So we had our big 3-act grand idea. This is how it's going to start. This is what I told everybody the story was going to be about. And this is how I see it ending. It's a reflection of the beginning. And then we punched in, right? You can take Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. You can do character work by pulling out the Commedia dell'arte book if you want to, and just like leaning into old archetypes. But we started to punch into each act, being like, how can we increase the specificity of the story? We all have goals. We know how we want. I know how I want as a writer to have the story end. I want it to have an end on a slightly hopeful note, right? So if we want to end on hope, then we kind of need to start off with a little bit of misery or devastation, right? We always are moving in a direction. In a big 3-act feature, you probably could make the arc, right? Start somewhere, make the journey, and then end somewhere either close to where your character started or the polar opposite of where your character started. But in a short story like this one, I kind of just pictured A to B and not having to fill out a whole world in order to get you invested. And the way that we did that was we made Julie the hero by giving up on her dream to take care of her ailing parent. We already have endowed her with goodness. We know that she is a good person that we're already rooting for. We've done something where she is relating to us as people, especially in this room. She is an artist with a blank canvas, with a blank page, as it were, and we've all been there, feeling uninspired, feeling like she wants to start the next chapter of her life, but she doesn't exactly know what that's going to entail. And then she actually, you know what? Just by talking about this out loud, can I just tell you a gripe that I have with my own story? Is that she has found purpose in another human connection, this Barry the barista guy. But while that is a B story and while it is nice for a romantic comedy, she didn't give herself purpose. We didn't see Julie herself make the change. By allowing herself to be happy because of another person, it was almost a passive choice, right? She didn't actually seek out Barry. He happened to be there. And so would the story have had a nice conclusion had Barry not been there? I don't know. But what she did learn was through art, even if it's AI, but if we know that we wanted to end on a hopeful ending, it's almost like the finale could be Julie finds a connection in Barry. Julie is painting in her empty apartment. The fact that she's even painting and not stuck on a blank canvas tells me that Julie's doing something for herself that wasn't really brought about by this guy, right? So if Julie is painting in her empty apartment, Barry comes home with some takeout, then we know that they're in a loving relationship, kind of visually, like, hey, I got us some Chinese food. And then when we reveal, I hate grammar, what Julie is painting, the real mirror image would be Julie is painting a self-portrait of her smiling, right? So now it's not like the mirror image of who she actually is, but now it's her getting her talent back. The relationship is literally in the background now. It's important, but it's secondary. And the final image, instead of it being in a mirror, it is the art. It is what she has chosen to see herself as, and that is the smiling. I think that is a much better conclusion to this story than the one that we had. Let me know if you agree. But also, I don't care if you agree. I know it's right. I know it's right. And that's the story that I want to tell. Okay. Woo! Level 75 says yes. He agrees. Thank you. Okay, good. I gotta tell you guys, I feel like I'm at an advantage with Twitch because it forces me to talk out loud. And usually arriving at conclusions like that wouldn't happen until I got notes back from a friend or until I put something down and then walked away from it for a little bit. So, I don't know, if I could give you guys a little hack, it would be start a Twitch channel. Or just don't be afraid to speak it out loud. You know, this is a shared workspace, and sometimes there's a lovely guy named Kurt who also comes and works in here, and he puts his AirPods in. But at first I was like, I guess maybe I'll just kind of keep it close to the camera and this will be our little secret. But I don't use my inside voice, and whenever I do, I feel like it's different to hear yourself think. I don't know. It's kind of one of the big things that I'm learning about talking out loud about the process to you is it's one thing to think, it's another thing to hear yourself think. And then also to have to fill empty air by recapping all of your thoughts and realizing, oh, now that I've read it all back out loud in a certain order, there's something I don't like about this. This is something I would change. It's been really helpful. So I hope it helps you at some point. Man discovers the rubber ducky trick. What's the rubber ducky trick? Is that just Bert and Ernie singing Rubber Ducky, You're the One? That's the only rubber ducky reference that I know. Or is that the quit looking at me, Swan kind of a situation? Okay. Well, let me take another sip. I'm gonna grab myself a little snack because then we're gonna have to get to writing this. Really, really writing this. How's everybody feeling, by the way? Oh, I love it, Zanny. Whenever something like encoding will work for writing as well. In coding, it's a trick that when you hit a wall, you explain the issue to a rubber ducky, and a lot of times you end up solving the problem by explaining it. Yes. Also, my lovely wife, who is so smart and beautiful, used to do her homework as a child. She would take her homework into her bedroom, line up all of her stuffed animals, and then teach them what she learned that day. And like learning by teaching is another great way to go. It's also the same thing as the rubber ducky principle, right? Just kind of saying it out loud, like reaffirming it to yourself. It's a shame that we have these societal expectations of like, be quiet, keep to yourself, shut up, don't annoy people, and that thinking out loud to yourself, verbalizing it is crazy. Like if you were doing it on the sidewalk, you'd be like, oh, that poor schizophrenic man. But there's a lot of value to it. So, maybe we just lean into the concept that as writers, we're going to be a little weird, and that's okay. And I'm going to talk out loud and verbalize all my thoughts. Brain hacks, yeah. Okay. Drawing a line in the sand, people. So above are all my notes. You know what? I lied. This is not what I normally do. I usually push everything down that's old and keep everything that's new at the top of the page, and then scroll down for reference. That's just how I work. But I keep it in document so I can get to it pretty fast. I'm gonna save this as AI art short story. Ghostly Anne Graves, back from the dead. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You came in kind of at the end, not at the end of the stream for sure. But you came in as we are kind of like finishing up, plotting out and structuring a short story idea I had at, I want to say around 1 a.m. last night. And now we're getting to the part where we're about to write it. And I'm kind of procrastinating, so I'm glad that you came in. And I'm still not done snacking. I still want to get some energy back in my body before I start shaping up the story. Ghostly, how are you doing? And how's the writing going? And catch us up while I chew on some trail mix, please. Writing is writing as writing it often is. Yeah, that's all it is. When I went to AFF, there were all these amazing screenwriters that I was looked up to, and I couldn't wait to see their panels. And their advice was always the same. I'm like, okay, I have XYZ script. People are interested in it. How do I get a star to read my script? How do I get this money to make this thing? And blah, blah, blah. And what contest should I get it to? How do I use it to get a manager? How do I use it to get an agent? And their advice always boiled back down to one thing, and they were just like, just keep writing. And whenever a story is too good to ignore, somebody will find it. And I was like, man, that's frustrating to travel halfway across the country and have people tell me, just keep writing. But the truth is that you just have to do that. It is the truth. And truth hurts, and it's constant and unending. Ooh, a tropical trail mix that you like? Nice. Okay, by the way, I'm not sponsored in any sort of way, but I have these like little probiotic lemon berry yogis with little nuts and raisins and pistachios. And then I ended up just getting some of these probiotic strawberry yogis. These are from Costco, but they're my new favorite snack. And I don't know that there's any snack that's ever really going to be truly healthy, but they make me feel better about myself in the moment. So I'm like, how bad could a few almonds be with a little bit of yogurt? The exact amounts of enjoyment and vary from day to day, of course. Actually, I also made an experimental playlist to add an environment of madness, anxiety for that type of storytelling. Wow, scrolling. You're really leaning in. I did that too, I wanted to tell like a really disgusting, visceral story. Not necessarily like body horror or anything like that. I just wanted it to be a hard drama that starts off with like a lot of tragedy, people living with like a physical deformity kind of a situation. And the reason that I had like a really like kind of like loud, messy wall of sound playlist is I was thinking like if I were physically disfigured, what kind of music would I want to listen to? And part of me was thinking like, well, music is a reflection of the things that we feel inside. Like if you're feeling happy, like a great pop song, you want to sing along to it. And if you're angry, like an angry teenager, or just angry as an adult, like metal and punk, Metallica, and Nirvana really will resonate with you. And if you're feeling intellectual and studious, put on some classical music. And so I came up with like a really messy kind of playlist to write this one story. I'll share some of the tracks with you. And I don't want to say like it's nothing's like thrash metal or anything, but it fit the tone of the story that I was telling. I had I Would For You by Jane's Addiction, Turtleneck by The National, True Love Waits by Radiohead, It Is Not Meant to Be by Tame Impala, White Rabbit, Jefferson Airplane, Werewolf by Cat Power, On the Run by Pink Floyd, Heroin, The Velvet Underground, Undiscovered First by Feist, The Daily Mail by Radiohead, Run by Air, just kind of some stuff like that. But man, that playlist worked for me. Method writing, yeah. You know what? If any of you have never taken an acting class, I highly suggest it. It will really help you as a writer because you're a writing character. And it's also important to know like how people interpret your words. Even if you're not writing screenplays, by the way, I'm talking about like having people add their own context and life and interpretations to like what it means to read something annoyed, their level of annoyed, their level of reluctance. A lot of our characters reluctantly do things. A lot of my characters do. Anyway, if you ever have the means or the time and you haven't done it yet, there's a specific joy and a specific freedom to taking an acting class when you know you're not setting out to be an actor. And if you think writing is therapy, you should try acting because it's essentially writing on your feet. Really interesting. Okay, let me see. Woo. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Since Ghostly Anne Graves is here, back in the chat, I was going to run through it again, but you know what? I did that and accidentally ended up in the lead of a Christmas show in college. Awesome. I love that. I think it's fantastic. One of my dear best friends in the entire world. I went to college for theater, and he went for, he changed his major so many times. Let's call it business. He ended up taking a couple of my theater classes with me because he just needed some like general studies and he just had to fill out some of the curriculum. And he took a movement class with me, he took an improv class with me, and he took an acting class with me, and he wound up in one of the plays that the college put on. It's called Betty's Summer Vacation by Christopher Durang. And he killed it, It's something about like casting a non-actor in a role where that person is really good at being that person naturally, like almost casting them out of just sheer existence, where it really worked. And he did such a great job. Brownie points for the professor. Yeah, hear that. And then you graduate and it's like, oh, what did I do all that work for? Nobody ever looks at my resume. For me, at least. Okay, it's time, y'all. Let's shake the cobwebs loose. I know even though I outlined, this is still a vomit draft. One of the things I'm worst at is prose structure, right? So usually I will just kind of get it all out and then I'll go back and do a line-by-line edit to ensure that the paragraph is supposed to be that long or my dialogue is written correctly and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, R.I.P. David Lynch, man. Not going to be another one like him for a while. Okay, let's see. Okay, what you're seeing here is a little bit of arrested development because I just want to say that it's something that I didn't say out loud was like, oh yeah, the first line of a story is so important. You really want to grab them in. It's got to be great. It's got to be, there was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But no, not in your vomit draft. It is important, and it is important that you like go back and workshop that, but try and get it right the first time. You don't start the story just like I didn't right here. Julie stared at herself. here. It had been a while since she had really, truly looked at herself. Her hair was a mess. Frizzy, call it. Her mother used to call it. It'd only get worse in the humidity. The bags under her eyes. How about this? She hoped the bags under her eyes would distract from the wrinkles in her forehead, on her forehead, of her forehead, something like that. She opened the mirrored medicine cabinet and took out old prescriptions. She examined them one by one. Okay, so here's where I'm going to do a little pause to do some research, and my research is going to be medicines used by cancer patients, used to kill her mother's cancer cells. I don't think I have to keep saying her mother, actually. Cancer cells hadn't worked, so she dropped in the bin. What else? Hi. The amifostate. So now I'm thinking about medicine, because I'm doing a rule of threes here, right? So she's tossing away her mother's old medication, and 2 of them are used in the treatment of cancer. And then the third one is going to be either about managing depression or pain management as well. And I'm thinking that because now we know the arc of our story, I already know the choice I'm going to go with, but just to clarify, my first thought was like, oh, let's give her, let's see, like Prozac or Zoloft, right, is for depression. And then for pain management, I was thinking, like, oh, there's Oxy, there's hydrocodone or codeine, and being like, oh, but this last one, the rule of 3, in setup, repetition, variation. This thing that didn't kill my mother's cancer cells, don't need. This thing that was used to treat the side effect of the first medication, I don't need. But this oxycodone, maybe I'll keep, right? Would be kind of like a fun thing that I thought would endear people to Julie. However, the main theme of our story is in finding purpose, not in numbing pain. This is kind of the butterfly emerging from the cocoon moment, not going into it. So I've decided that I'm going to go with the medicine used for depression, not pain management. So I'll see, like, the term bottle, the next bottle. Here's Zoloft. This she was willing to keep. Was this bed the last thing? Julie came out of the bathroom to address the movers. She had been trying to get rid of her mother's, She had been convincing herself to make more space for her life. Her mother was gone. I don't know how many times I need to keep reiterating that, but whenever I go back through my second draft, whenever I read through, I'll be like, you know what, I get it. By here, I understand her mother's dead, okay? So I don't need to keep saying her mother passed, but in this first draft, it's just how my mind is working. This is more space for her life now that her mother was gone. The last piece, what's this medical bed called? Maybe it's just called medical bed for name of medical, home care bed is what I'm going to go with. The last piece. Her mother's, I can already see I'm saying her mother's too much. Her mother's home care bed. The behemoth that sat in the living room. Her small 1-bedroom apartment is about to go. Yeah, I don't know how to spell shit. Don't you want a hyphen? Okay. Julian, thousands. Let's see. 365 days a year, maybe it's been a few years. Juliet's been nearly 1,000 days, but maybe not in the end. Maybe it's hundreds of days squirming and squeezing past bed. It was an ordeal. It was a challenge. It was a challenge and it was an ordeal. It was a task. It was an impossible task to move from the kitchen to the bathroom with any grace. Let me check on the chat here. Gurney. Oh yeah. I guess if in a hospital, I feel like on the wheels, but I know a gurney can like get lifted up and what happened? Oh, somebody join the chat. What's going on? Nice. I know a gurney is like something they can hoist up and unfold and put into the back of like EMT. This one I'm picturing has like the nice sides, like the fluffy mattress. It's like designed for comfort, almost like a hospice kind of a situation. Maybe you could press the button and it kind of reclines up and down. Oh, cool. Scrolly, thanks for dropping that playlist in the Discord. I'll definitely listen to it. Herbal remedies. Better back up my tech. Now, Derek, thanks for keeping me company. Oh, yeah, of course, Necro. Have fun out in the forest and stay safe. And give those doggies a bunch of love if you're leaving the Discord. Appreciate you. I mean, if you're leaving the stream, I appreciate you for tuning in even. Oh, first time in chat. Georgiana Magpie. Hello, just follow. Great to see another right out there doing their thing. Yeah, of course. Georgiana Magpie. Am I saying that right, by the way? And does that mean you're from Georgia? We have a bunch of people from the South here. From Louisiana. I believe Graves, Ghostly Ann Graves, is a Texan as well. We have a Canadian, but we won't hold that against them, even though they're better than us. Let's keep going. Georgiana, just letting you know, we're working on a short story. We're fleshing it out. I had this idea, like one of those 1 a.m. ideas where you're about to fall asleep and you're like, I have to get this out. So I built it out live on stream in this document. We gave it an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. We did a little bit of character work. We pushed it through the Blake Snyder beat sheet because mostly I'm a screenwriter, but it's Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, all of that stuff. It's all the same format, beats and stuff, just to make sure we had all of the right story beats in there. And now drew a little line in the sand. Below are all the notes, and now we're actually just writing out the actual story. We're doing the vomit draft of the first draft of the story. Mookie's Pittsburghian. Oh my God. I just saw the It's Always Sunny guys do hot ones. Anyway. Oh, and Georgiana, I have a link to my Discord. If you ever want to join the Discord and drop any work that you're doing, sometimes whenever I run out of my own work or get sick of it, we'll look at other people's work. You can tell us if you want notes or not. But yeah, we have a nice little community here of people who read, write, share their work, and sometimes endure mine. So let's get back to our Act 1, shall we? Julie had spent hundreds of days squirming and squeezing past that bed. It was an impossible task to move from the kitchen to the bathroom. It had been an impossible task to move from the kitchen to the bathroom with any grace. Oh yeah, and just going back to our notes here, let me pepper that in. Let's see. She practiced smiling. She wasn't sure she did, so since she any reason to. Cheeks, hoisting up cheeks. She was done lying to herself. And she was done lying to herself. Not to mention a few second cheeks. Getting tired. Okay, let's see. Oh, more stuff in the chat. I'm actually from Michigan. Oh, nice. I don't know anything about Michigan, so I could look forward to learning whenever you tell me all your stories. I lived for a short while. I lived in Michigan, but it was near the Indiana border, farther north than that, but I know that southern part pretty well. Let me get up there. Yeah, you guys keep chatting about Michigan, please. So guys, I will start striking out notes as I move through them so I'll know what's done and what's not. Now seeing the regular task, winding it out the door to the hallway. Elizabeth Eiffel and Paris. Oh, I forget. What's the name of the park that the Eiffel Tower is in? I'll just Google it. Is that it? Oh, it has an S. I took Spanish in high school, so please, people, give me a break. She felt the, like nooks and crannies, or if I don't want to call them holes, but maybe I'll find another word for indentions or whatever. Rise again, much like Julie's journey. Let's find a synonym for indentation rather. Depression. No worries. Indentations. The depressions. I like that. It's a little choosing words that are thematic to the story that we're telling, a little reflection of Julie here. And then, let's see. And then, oh man, this chat is popping off, huh? BYOB. 30 mac and cheese. Oh wow, Georgia. Concavity. That is probably a good word, but it just wouldn't sound like me if I used it. But yeah, excellent. Okay, movers taking out the bed. There we go. Painting, going to museums. Okay. So, paint the picture of loneliness and a missing parental figure. House instead of apartment. Or moving into it. So we decided, we made some intellectual choices earlier. It would be an apartment, not a house. We know this. Not moving into a new apartment, just the remnants of her old apartment, singular, tiny. Sticking with the theme, not overcomplicating the story. Scrolly, have you seen Ari Aster's work? Yeah. Let's see, let's brainstorm. What something a parent would leave behind. Like what I'm pulling stuff from my real life. My grandpa has this 53 Gibson guitar, acoustic, that he left my family. My mom still treasures. But let's find like a remnant of the mother so that it can be, because I have a note here and we're going to just go through our notes. We've already set up our work and all we have to do is pay them off. But I will say this note was very general, and if I had already come up with the specifics, then I wouldn't be stopping here so much. But I said, paint the picture of loneliness and a missing parental figure. So we have the missing parental figure. I don't know if we have the loneliness. We have the newly emptied space. And we also have the Zoloft, which is a savvy way to say, maybe I'll hold on to this because I'm feeling a little depressed. But depression isn't loneliness either. It's just depression. And loneliness can be a part of depression. But I told myself that I need to paint a picture of loneliness. So feeling the silence of the room might be lonely as well. And just maybe we've already done it. Maybe I don't need to harp on it. Let's see. Keyboard. Oh, I have a MacBook Air. That's just the keyboard on my MacBook Air. Lost, desolate. Yeah, but it's not about a word, right? It's about evoking the feeling of loneliness. So it's the absence of something. But how do you write nothing? You don't. You write the remnant of something. The reason that I bring up my grandparents' guitar is like something that clearly doesn't... I don't play guitar. So if I had a guitar in my room where the hospital bed just got wheeled out, it would be like, oh, that was my grandpa's. It's a remnant of him, and it's the lack of people. It's like, okay, so here's another example. This is like a cliche that works really well, which is two chairs, right? You always have two chairs, like, because there were two people who would always watch TV in those two chairs, and now you just have one person in one chair. They look over to the other chair, and it's empty, right? That's like the absence of something. Mook! Well, I mean, you work at a newspaper too. Everything about you screams like you're from the 1950s. Yes, makes sense. I didn't mean to shit on you and run, Mook, but also, like, I love journaling. I love the thoughts that come out in free writing as well. So you might also be secretly at an advantage. You gotta have the paper stabber. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, let's... okay, how about this? We'll make it really... I'll do a variation on the cliche, which is like the two chairs. But Julie, she ran her hand over the crocheted blanket her mother had made while her hands first sat on one end her couch now seemed too long. What is it telling me that? You know what, fuck you, Grammarly. I'll figure it out later. Just I don't seem too long. Clutching the cotton to chest. I do have a felt hat with a piece of paper stuck in the brim with the word press on it. Yeah, see? Yeah. Oh man, your name Mookie makes more sense. My name's Mookie. Okay, see, yeah? Mookie. Mookie here, what's the scoop? Creative one, dust, 4, and plucking a string just to hear the note and see if it was still in tune. Oh yeah, I mean, if I were to use my grandpa's thing, yeah, guitar. But actually, this is from my real life too. My grandma actually did crochet a blanket. It's like yellow, brown, and white. And it was really, really thick. And it's just survived for so long. So that's what I went with because I know it was her mother, so I was using my grandmother as an example. Let's see. I'm gonna give her a thought. I'm gonna italicize it. All this time, do. Yeah, exactly. Matte color it is, yes, exactly. Definitely 70s. A lot of earth tones, I believe, was the deal. And the avocado green refrigerator. I draw the line at calling females dames. But what about their legs? Do you still let them be gams? Okay, let's keep going here. This time I don't know what to do with it. Okay, so I think we have painted the picture of loneliness for now. Remember, y'all, this is just, I'm still spitting out a first draft here. Can't be afraid to suck. Julie is lonely. She spends her time watching movies, painting, going to the museums. She was taking care of her sick mother. That was the backstory. We know this. Okay, so she's in her recalibration mode. That was the backstory that we just folded into Act 1. It takes out a dust-covered bag of art supplies. Yeah. What happened? I'm just trying to get rid of my italices. There we go. Julie, stop italicizing. Then, let's see. Let's look at some art bags. Art supply bags. They kind of look like totes. They have like a cool handle. Some of them are leather. A lot of pockets on the outside. Okay. Just trying to get a good sense of the art bag here. Know what I'm writing. A leather handled tote supplies. College. Chance to paint since college. That makes the narrator a little too cheeky. What if she thought had a chance? They haven't had a chance to paint since, oh God, college. And if she thought, we don't need the quotation marks. And we also don't need the thought. That's what the italices are for. Oh God, brushes. Covered in dust. Spelling isn't my strong suit. Okay, how about that? Let me check in on the chat. Make sure I'm not like missing out on anything fun. Oh, he used a tackle box. I like something even like a little bit more obscure like that. Is this destined to be a script? If so, is it more as an example, something for you to practice with, a spec script, or writing sample for an agent, or something specific for a producer? Yeah, I don't know what this is really, Mook. I just know that I had an idea for a story at 1 a.m. and then I just kind of fleshed it out. I always use storytelling structure I always use screenplay structure as my storytelling foundation, a 3-act structure with the 13 story beats. And then if I were envisioning this as a screenplay, I think I would just go ahead and write it in screenplay format. But I do have a bunch of short stories that I want to turn into a short story book. And the way that I'm envisioning this story in particular is a short story. I don't know that the premise has enough legs to extend into a full feature-length film. And I'm not really interested in making short films because there's no real route for distribution for them outside of YouTube Shorts, which doesn't pay much. And also, I'm not really interested in being on set and going through pre-production, production, post-production, and all the expense and time and effort that it takes to actually film something like this for a film with no outlet for distribution. So I think this is going to end up in my short story book. He used a fishing tackle box because the bags don't keep things organized very well. Yeah, totes with plenty pockets. Could be one long tube. Possesses a roll of poster. Oh, yeah. Like canvas, grand scans, or the bee's knees. So if you sit on one of those bags, you could end up popping a tube of paint. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll just make sure that she doesn't sit on the bags. Eureka. Oh, Mookie. Staying in the past. I love it. I mean, look, I watched Andy Griffith growing up, too. But it was of course, it was like reruns. But I was whistling the Andy Griffith theme at work the other day. Opie the Birdman is one of my favorites. I'll have to check that out. Y'all know Hogan's Heroes? How old is everybody in this chat? Let's say even further, darkest recesses of the closet. Say roll a bolt canvas, shaking woundedly. All of her equipment is weird for an artist, but supplies. No living room. Small tart. Giant pencil. What does it want? What does it want? Cover where the giant bad once was. She has stapled canvas and old set up on an easel. Not where to begin. Just that if she ever, just knowing that she must. Okay, what's next? Sets up an easel, lays out her brushes. Oh, the old towel to dry them. How about that? Let's put some thought in here. To paint. What to paint? To say. Where am I? Turn on the TV. Scroll to. I kind of want to say, like, I'm trying to decide in this moment whether I want to keep harping on, well, the way that I even phrased it kind of tells me it's the wrong choice. I was going to say keep harping on the loss of her mother or Julie's lack of identity. Like maybe there's a show that she always wanted to watch on TV, but her mother thought it was like too crass and they're sharing this living space together. So she never watched like her cheesy reality TV show, Desperate Housewives or whatever, Beverly Hills Housewives of whatever. And now that she has a chance to watch it, and she doesn't like it. And so that'll be the frustration that gets her back to the canvas. From to watch Real Wives. I think I italicized this. Not mistaken. Always said their problems never interesting because they weren't real problems. Even if they were, they could afford to have them. Single line, really hit play. Within 10 minutes, she decided her mother was right. Back to her canvas. She rolled and paintbrush against her lip. Maybe let's make this. Maybe stop. Think fridge. All right. Because now we're going to get her to microwave a burrito, I believe. So maybe she goes to the fridge and gets distracted. She did have an apple in the crisp that hardly matched. She realized she was hungry. In the freezer. Oh, wait. It in the microwave. Joylessly, she ate the tortilla-wrapped mediocrity. That might be the favorite line of my favorite line that I've written today. Whew. Let's see. Let me get back in the chat here. Mookie, I know nothing. Nothing! I know of Hogan's Heroes. My dad is an old head, so he showed all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we got educated. Same with Petticoat Junction. Oh my goodness. Was anybody around for Captain Kangaroo? If I said, oh, I lost it. If I said Dad had a young crush on Haley Mills, I was not alive for the original run of the Andy Griffith Show. I'm my mother's caretaker and she needs me to go help her. I'll have to say goodnight for now. I'll be back another day. Oh, Georgia. My goodness, I can't believe we were writing something so close to home, but thank you for being here and appreciate you spending the time with us that you did. Your use of caps to show the line reading is impressive. Oh, you're talking to Scrolly. Yeah. It was nice meeting you again. Hope we meet you. Very good theme song. Mac is back. What's going on? You're gonna say go for some mac and cheese. Oh man, it's nice to know what the algorithm thinks of my channel. Acne cleaner and Amazon Prime in an ad for headphones. Oh, it's not my favorite byline. It's a line by me, but Mook, do you have a favorite byline? And also, excuse me while I use the restroom for a hot second. Okay, where am I going? Targeting the writers with mac and cheese, simple and quick to make, easy to eat when the page is blank. Well, Scrolly, you should write ads for mac and cheese. Byline for the newspaper. Oh wait, isn't a byline the one that, no, a byline just identifies the author. I guess I was thinking of like headline, like you ever wrote your favorite like or weird or funny headline or one that you thought was awesome and ended up being misinterpreted. There was one where it was Ike died of Ike and Tina Turner. I think it was like New York Times maybe or something, like some big newspaper, and the headline was something like Ike beats Tina Turner to death, even though Tina Turner was very much alive, it made it sound like he beat her to death, as opposed to he made it to death first. It was like a really weird way to phrase the headline. It was crazy. Clever girl, Jurassic Park, when the man was about to be Yep. Clickbait before clickbait. Yeah. When ignorance was clickbait. Joylessly, she ate the tortilla-wrapped mediocrity. Well, canvas. Why? Oh. Is the comma you have a problem with? While staring at the blank canvas. Let's keep her mind going. Maybe something abstract. Paint. Anything. Just paint. Anything. Let's see. A local person named Robert April was weighing heavily on if they wanted to run for political office. And so I made the headline, April may or he may not. That's great. I like that. That's fantastic. Did you get like a lot of like attaboys and like, oh yeah, good one? Or did your coworkers like roll their eyes? Like I often wonder if that's like celebrated or lauded as like is it like the dad joke of like the newspaper world? I'm just curious. File through all of her paints for she didn't feel all her red. Nothing about right. I mentioned Ari Aster earlier because I really like his use of anxiety rather than jump scares, a constant feeling of unease that can never be shaken off. I agree, he is really, really good at that. May have won over June's head. Creative one. Nice one. Nice little button on that. Yeah, the latest Ari Aster film, Beau is Afraid, is basically an anxiety fever dream. And while I can appreciate his ability to execute it, it's not something that I actually enjoy watching. But you're right. Yeah, he is very good at that. I think that movie was kind of, I don't want to say it's the first of its kind, because there's always kind of movies that induce anxiety and tension. Like immediately I thought of Requiem for a Dream, kind of a situation, and how it doesn't even give you a resolve. But even after Requiem for a Dream, which people talk about to this day as a reference to like those anxieties and that kind of nightmarish tone. I don't know a lot of people who just like put it on again for fun, but it has its place. It's good. Oh shit, should I make a buttons emote? Never got the guts to watch it. I mean, it's if you did like Beau is Afraid and you do like Ari Aster and his use of anxiety inducing tactics to make a film, I gotta say that Requiem must have had a big influence on him. He probably can't have a Beau is Afraid without Requiem for a Dream. We need the comedic time. Yeah, we do. Let's keep writing. Let's keep writing. One of the oldest scenes I ever saw was a Full Metal Alchemist. Oh, I don't know a Full Metal Alchemist. Yo, Monarchus Arachne. Hello. Welcome to the chat. Yo, how's it going? We are writing a story here today. Oh, Squirrel, we put it in the Discord so I keep track of this. My biggest concern is that you guys always recommend stuff to me and then I never, the chat goes away and then I forget. Oh, interesting. We were just talking about Ari Aster. Is it pronounced Ari or Air-E? I see that nice. I think Ari. But what's up? Well, what do you write? And, what's your goal as a writer? Over here, we're just kind of, we talk about everything kind of related to writing. I am a screenwriter and producer working out of Hollywood here. And also dabble in prose and short stories. And sometimes people will, oh, Mama Buckle recommended you. Oh, excellent. Yeah, we love Mama. About a week, no, maybe 2 weeks ago, we did a film jam live where we wrote and produced and shot and edited a short film all live from one Twitch stream. So yeah, Mama Buckle is good people. Love Mama. But yeah, love to know about what you're writing, what you're getting into, and if you ever want us to read or review some of your work, be sure to pop in and join the Discord that I have. I have a little link under the Derek DeNicola writer channel bio. I'll just do a quick copy paste in case you ever want to like send us a story and we'll read it. And if you ever want notes, we'll do notes. Sometimes we've done workshops and stuff on other people's works. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Sci-fi fantasy usually. Story building at the moment. It's a pain in my ass because during my notes the first time I completely forgot about 2 of the species because they aren't Ororinopan born species. They are the goddess race and the demons, of course. Oh, you were. Cool. Excellent. Well, we have a lot of sci-fi writers actually out here. And we've worked on a lot of like sci-fi stuff and helping people like clarify and world build. A lot of people get stuck. A lot of people in this chat have gotten stuck in the world building. But Oranopian. Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you for phonetically spelling that out for me. Yeah, I definitely needed all the help I could get on that one. But yeah, a lot of our sci-fi writers over here get stuck in the world building and they forget about like to drive the story forward a little bit. I say forget about it, or they just haven't gotten to. Like sometimes it's so fun to build the world and create the rules and see how everything looks and design that you just don't focus on story or structure or sometimes even like making a protagonist in some cases. But we've always been pretty helpful with that if you ever decide that you want to take it out of your hands and put it into the chat or discuss it live. I think we're a very cool, supportive storytelling community. Okie dokie. I'm a friend of Buckles. I need to spell things out for him all the time, including words in English. Oh, snap. I thought I was aura farming, but I was Oranopian. I had to rename SOL Elites for that one, world building. Yep, based on history and woven into it. Yeah, Creative One. Yeah, Creative One's been doing this for a little bit now. So Creative One's working on, I believe I wanted to say novel, but I'm pretty sure you said novella of cyberpunk tragedy. Creative One, were you on the stream whenever I was talking to Necromancer about playing Cyberpunk 2077? Just out of curiosity, I wonder if you game or if you've played Cyberpunk at all. Anywho, gotta keep writing. Let's see, stares at the blank canvas. Nothing felt right. So, eats the microwave burrito without joy. We've got strike through. Watches TV. Strike through. We've got the blank canvas on both. So we're doing that kind of rule of 3. Let me see. So on the third, she doesn't stare at the canvas. It'll be her staring at the art museum. So before we do that, we need to kind of get her this catalyst. Nothing felt right. If doing nothing felt right, she had a deepening fear that she would never do anything again. She needed a spark, a jump start. Something would help her reclaim her identity. When was the last time she smiled on purpose? Oh wait, no, this kind of feels like a thought. When was the last time I smiled on purpose? Where was I? And then we're gonna move through time. So I'm going to do the 4 asterisk rule, 3, 4, and break this up. So now we know that we have kind of, this is like in screenplay format, this would be just me going to like cut to, or just going to another slug line or scene heading. In prose, we can kind of do this. Oh shit, what is happening in the chat here? I graze the surface and filter ideas. I float the writings. So probably seen me before at least once. Cream cheese replaced by the mac and cheese? There's no way they put cream cheese. It's commercial. Oh my god. At least Twisted Metal's a show. It makes sense to me. And the game, baby. Don't forget about the PlayStation game. Let's see, gets frustrated. Done. That was the frustration. When was the last time I smiled on purpose? Where was I? Intro the art museum, give it some character. Yeah. Let's take a look at some art museums so I can kind of know what I'm describing here. Let's do... I mean, I'm based in Los Angeles, so let's take a look at the But you know, I want to use it as inspiration. I don't want it actually to be the LACMA, but maybe like, I just want to describe features. A modern art museum. So maybe if I just Google modern art museum and then go to images, and then I guess with modern art, I guess it's like minimalist. Looks like some sharp angles, some like, what you would call that, sweeping curves maybe. A lot of glass, a lot of concrete, very cool tones. It looks like white, stucco, brushed steel. This just looks like sleek. Oh, here's some sculptures on the lawn. Yeah, I think a lot of museums I've been to have like utilized their lawns for like sculptures, so that makes sense too. So we're gonna describe this. Does anybody remember what I said? So it's modern, sleek, I said, cool tones, cool toned, glass, brushed steel, sweeping curves, I said, white stucco. Oh, right, and then the post-modern lawn sculptures. All right, so I want to build this out. So these are all my keywords that I'm going to use to build out my sentence. Oh, God. Guys, really starting to feel it in my back. Really starting to feel it in my back. Ooh, we got a first timer. Oh, God. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Oiramunyu. Oiramunyu. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you come in here also and say I didn't have a Save the Cat outline? Well, let me tell you something. You weren't around earlier whenever I pushed all of our prose story, by the way, through the Blake Snyder beat sheet. I've done it so much, I don't really need to constantly do it, but I do like to visualize it and make sure I don't miss anything. Yeah, you know what it is. Frank Lloyd Wright with the internet. Also, Lababus. What is Lababus? Man, you guys make me feel so dumb. Labubus? Oh God, get out of here, these Labubus. Yeah, there's like a little mirror over here and I can see my terrible posture. Daddy needs a massage. I also just absolutely hated that I referred to myself as Daddy there. Okay, let's keep writing though. But for... Dude, Oiramunyu, tell me how to say your name. Can you spell it out phonetically? Since you came in so hot and are so fantastic, can you help me? Ram, just call you Ram. Oh, Ram is capped for your convenience. I see it up there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell me about what you write. Are you a screenwriter as well? Normally, I dabble in screenplay format, but I have a lot of sci-fi and fanfic prose writers in here as well. So, nope, prose. Okay, cool, excellent. Well, a lot of the, story, I'm sure you know, a lot of the storytelling tenets are the same, hero's journey and all that nonsense. So I push my prose through the 13 beats as well. You prefer Vogler to Blake Snyder. Totally. What kind of prose do you write? Ram, are you sci-fi as well? Just curious, just in case also. I bring it up because I have a Discord, and when I'm not working on my own stuff, I'll put other people's work up. We'll read through it, we can comment on it, we can make it better, we can give notes, or we can just read it so it can be heard, kind of a situation. But coming of age fantasy, but fantasy is sci-fi with trees. I like you. I like the cut of your jib, sir. Let's see. I write down what everybody does. Sci-fi, fantasy. Just in case you pop back in again, I'll just have a record of what it is that you do. But if you are a sharer, be sure to join the Discord and share your work. Also, if you're like reading cool stuff, there's a bunch of like little channels on there where we just make a list of the things that we like. So we always can reference what everybody else is into. It's fun. You keep a Farley file on your audience. That's rad. I gotta tell you, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not because of the way you came in, but it's true. I do. So, let's build out this exterior, intro the art museum almost as if it is a character on its own. So, Julie started to feel better as she through the small maze post-modern lawn Sculptures, lawn, towering white stucco, building with its sweeping curve, brushed steel. She was. Yeah, I'm gonna do it better than that. This is a vomit draft, but I've got to get the. Is it brushed steel? Guess not. Guess it just wants a comma. Get rid of that as well. Anything postmodern? Yeah, I do not like this, but I got to get it done, right? Because we're just going through our checklist. And then the art of rewriting is where we class things up, being borrowed for future reference. It's cool to see how other people develop. Fascinating. Yeah, please. And that's why I like to join other writers' channels as well. If you have a channel and if you write live on it, I steal from anything that helps me work more efficiently. And just since you're kind of new on the chat, basically what we did was I started with a singular idea. This was like a 1 a.m. idea that I had in my notes app that I just had to write down. What if a woman thought she fell in love at an art museum with a guy only to discover that the man is an AI art exhibit or an art installation? And that was all I had, right? And I actually had another idea too, where it was about like the man who branded the moon, or the billionaire who branded the moon, and it was more like supposed to be like a little satirical takedown of these like Bezos, Elon Musk types, and like how they would ruin the moon for everybody by like putting their logo on it, kind of a situation. But we compared those two ideas at the beginning of the stream and realized that one had a relationship to it and was actually stronger. The other one almost makes a better New York Times style cartoon as opposed to an actual story. So we all leaned into this one, the AI art, and then we decided to call the guy Art, just to be on the nose and cheeky and clever about it. Then we built an Act 1, an Act 2, and Act 3. I usually don't tackle my Blake Snyder beat sheet until I know that the story's beginning, middle, and end. I work from like a really big, wide view, and then I start punching in on each act. And so once I had a sense of like how Act 1 would go, how Act 2 would go, and how Act 3 would go, and I knew where my story would start and where my story would end, then we started essentially talking out loud about the stories, the things that we'd hoped to see. A lot of it got developed in Act 2, the promise of the premise, like what am I asking people to expect whenever I'm going to tell them a story like this. Then we did a little character development, like why do we like these people? And let's also give the AI person a little bit of a personality, but even if AI doesn't have a personality, somebody created it. So we developed the artist backstory behind the AI and what he was trying to accomplish. We knew that we were going to be pushing it through the Blake Snyder B sheet, so we developed a B story. We developed a counter to the AI, which is an emotional storyline connected to a love arc, a romantic arc, a barista who works at the art museum who hasn't seen her in quite some time, but has recently become single and has always liked her, kind of a situation. And then once we had developed all of the characters a little bit, then we did the Blake Snyder beat sheet to make sure everything was there, which it was, but it also inspired some more ideas. We had a really lovely debate in the chat about AI as art and how AI is good at fooling people into thinking that they have a genuine connection, how AI can double as a therapist or even be a better therapist than some therapist in some ways, and then also explore the ways in which AI reveals itself to be AI, and then worked all of that into our second act, our fun and games, our rising conflict, if you will. Sorry. Here we go. Oh, you personally Google search or generate the setting rather than put the keywords in the outline. Version 2. Short story, nice. All stories boil down to a relationship. Yeah, I do the same thing, but I use the log line to determine the 3 acts before heading into my Vogler 7-point structure. Nice. And I just, as far as like the setting, I Googled modern art museums, and I was just literally looking at the images, and I took bits and pieces from a bunch of different art museums that were in my Google images because this is kind of a anywhere USA kind of a situation. I mean, I think at a modern art museum, it's probably a big city, but I didn't want to relegate it to East Coast or West Coast or anything like that. I like using airports for for museums. Yeah, we have both here actually. I work out of Los Angeles, and our LA has a aviation museum attached to it. It's really fascinating. Drowning Devil, hello, hello, hello. Drowning Devil, we're writing a short story. We're writing a short story that I had an idea for at 1 a.m. and I can't keep explaining it over and over again. But we're in it, baby. We're just doing it. And we've already outlined everything, and you're seeing all the work done here. Not only did we outline everything, we did some character development, and then pushed it all through the Blake Snyder beat sheet right here. And you can see that as I go through our notes, I am striking out. It's very hard to see. It's barely legible, but I'm striking out every piece of note and just putting it in a vomit draft, making sure that all the beats are there. And then we're going to go back and then we'll do some cleanup and editing and punch ups. But right now we're in the vomit draft that occurs after the outline. Yeah, that's why a long light is great. Yeah, I kind of preach that over here all the time. If you forget what kind of story you're telling, the log line is your touchstone. Just remember what you promised the story was about, and that should keep you between the gutters. So matter of fact, do you guys want me to write a log line for this right now? I mean, I'm pretty confident I understand the story, but it's one of my favorite exercises, honestly. Drowning Devil, sure, please, yes, please. Just waltz in here and be like, yes, 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 please, the log line. Let's see, after the death of her mother, Julie attempts to wreak herself, forms a relationship with an AI art exhibit. Let's say maybe inadvertently. Oh geez, inadvertently. Only to, let's see, it's usually like on the verge of, or she must, or let's see what's at stake here. Before she, or maybe only to realize some of the deepest truths can from, I don't like this, artificial sources. It's like the intellectual way to say it. But there's got to be a better literary way to say it. After the death of her mother. I don't like using Julie there because it seems like her mother's name could be Julie. But, I mean, usually, honestly, people pour a lot of hard work into their log lines. It is 4:49 p.m. I've been streaming since noon. I usually go to 5. And while I would still like to workshop this log line, I think right now this is good enough because we have done all of this other work here. But it'll be a guidepost. I'll always know I could turn back to it. Let me check on the chat here. What's everybody thinking? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ram understands. Ram and I are speaking the same language here. All right, let's see what else. Let's keep ticking off these boxes here. Stairs outside the art museum. Intro the art museum. Give it some character, contrast its modern design. Yep, we did that. She goes to the art museum. Okay, well, I think we got that as well. And then we experience the meet cute, but this is actually out of place now. Right, guys? Because we decided that in Act 2, we would introduce her B story, and then we would meet Art. Okay, so we're about to break into 2 is essentially where we're at in this act. I'd still like to have her move inside. Oh, this is the leftover stuff. We have the air, glass doors, slid in the air, made the arms, she clean. Perfectly preserved, clean, and I don't know. That's it for now. I'll keep doing it. What are the different wings? Different wings than art. Because I've been to so many, some art museums organized by time period, some of them organized by geography, like Egyptian art, European Renaissance, arms and armor. Perfect. These are things that I need to pass through the Egyptian art. Wing and the armor, no, not a Moor, armor section and headed arms. Newest wing was stopped by a familiar voice, Julie, and noticed Barry, museum's barista, draped in his green. He stepped his hands on his hips in a slack jawed curiosity on his face. Seemed such latte. No foam or something? I don't really understand coffee drinks either. You still like, ooh, like vanilla latte iced with almond? Taking care, and it's oat milk now. He's forgotten close staff during her time studying the exhibits, college courses. He had always nice to was her age. He was her age, and I don't like this, but back in the day, he was dating one of the curators, Amanda. I don't know. He was dating one of the curators. I hate back in the day, but years ago. For the give me another section of the museum here. Give me another wing for the European Renaissance. I never learned how to spell Renaissance. Wing. She noticed he on his finger. Either he's. We'll turn this into a thought and make like Julie a little more. Either he's playing the long game or it's over. All right. Let me check on the chat. What are you guys talking about now? Nothing. Great. You guys are just watching me type away. Thanks. Appreciate it. Oh my god, you don't have this finished yet. Yeah, I don't plan on finishing it today, Mook, because I write till 5. But it'll be a great place to pick up next time. But we did talk a lot. We did chat a lot. We did outline this whole thing, and we took 1 or 2 sentence idea, and we fleshed it out into a complete 3 acts of a short story. Yeah, I think we put in some really cool work. We met some cool new people. Like I said, it is 5, y'all, and my back is not getting any less stiff or any more nimble. So let me know what you think of that. Oh yeah. So what I'll probably do is go grab some dinner, because after this I have a writer's room where we're going to be, just an update on that. We got to the end of the script. We've done 2 rounds of punch-ups, and now we're going to do a 3rd round of punch-ups and start developing the pitch deck for it. That means doing like some dream casting so we can start visualizing these characters. I'll probably use AI to generate like a poster, and we'll kind of build out something that we can modify in Google Slides. I actually really like using PowerPoint, but not everybody has it. So either that or Canva, but we will start building out a pitch deck. And the pitch decks also have a structure to them. Poster with a tagline, then an intro to the piece, like an executive summary. What genre is this? Is it a TV show? Is it a feature film? What are you showing me? What's the runtime? If it's a feature film, how many episodes? If it's an episodic, all that kind of stuff. Who the writers are, created by, and then we jump into logline, synopsis, character breakdown, and why us? Why now? Why this story? And also in the pitch decks, that are the creative pitch decks for features and TV series, sometimes you don't hide the ball. Sometimes it's a pitch deck for a bunch of suits, so you tell them. And this is the ending. This is what happened to the mysterious person who went missing all those years ago or whatever, because they need to know what idea they're investing in. Sometimes people will write a log line and it'll be like, so-and-so goes on a journey to rekindle an old flame, or like if you hear like journey in a log line, it's kind of like beware a little bit. You can't be that vague in a television or film pitch deck, because you're literally about to ask people for millions of dollars, and they've got to know who they're getting in bed with. So that's our next thing, and I guess whenever I get back, we shall tackle Act 2 of our short story. Hopefully get into Act 3 if we get on a nice little roll. How many writers involved? Our mock writers room meets in person. It's 5 people. Sydney Newman, me, Garrett Kirby, Brad Lewandowski, Norane Tomaspian. It's really nice because everybody's like a slightly different age, a slightly different background, either like geographically or culturally or due to age. And it's really cool. And it's kind of, it feels almost like a cheat code. And I highly recommend it if you guys ever want to take the reins and be in a writer's room. Don't wait to get hired. Just make your own. The hardest thing is going to be finding people who show up consistently. You wonder what the log line looked like for Memento? Here it is. I found it. A man named Leonard searches for the man that raped and murdered his wife while dealing with a form of short-term memory loss. That is the log line for Memento. But I've seen other people do... Oh, I see. So I got that one from logline.us. But AI Overview came up with one, if you're interested. A man with anti-retrograde amnesia uses notes and tattoos to track down his wife's killer, but his fragmented memory and complex nonlinear narrative force the audience to piece together the truth alongside him. I don't think that's a good one from AI just because it addresses the fact that there is an audience. That's almost more like stage direction. Yeah, a man named Leonard searches for the man that murdered his wife while dealing with a form of short-term memory loss. Has the hook embedded in it. Tells us, oh, this is a murder mystery, and how is this guy going to do it with short-term memory loss? Everything's in there, and it's short, and it's juicy, it's concise. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go consult my chiropractor, and we will continuing to write this short story for the next stream, next Tuesday from noon to 5. Every time, every way. I don't know what I'm saying because I'm a little delirious from having done this. But man, I really appreciated you coming and joining me for this stream. It's so much more fun, and it's, I think, easier when everybody's around you and you have a supportive community. And you know, if you guys want to bring in your work and you want to feel supported while you do your work, I'm happy to do that as well. Also, be sure to join the Discord and share like what you're reading and writing. And I should actually take my own advice. I'll tell you guys about the stuff that I recently watched some some documentaries on musicians that helped influence and also inspire me in the way that I want to write as well. Watching the Miyazaki documentaries, watching the Billy Joel So It Goes documentary as well. And also, after this short story is done, I want to try and write a little half-hour. I want to write something in screenplay format. I love prose, I do, and I love getting these short stories done, but I want to keep going back to the thing that I came here for, screenwriting, and I want to write like a little half-hour comedy live on stream for you. I think it'd be fun to brainstorm the characters with you. I want to do something single location, and I'll tell you what's inspiring me. It's a show that my wife turned me on to called Vicious on Amazon Prime. It's an older show starring Ian McKellen, and it's about two older men, seemingly either retired. He's still kind of a wannabe actor, the Ian McKellen character is. Just kind of see how many jokes we can get per page while developing character and pushing story along. It's definitely easier said than done, but I'm still going to do it. So that'll be a goal as well. All right, everybody, let's find somebody to raid, shall we? Let's, oh yeah. Forgive me one second before we find someone to raid. I just want to do this little transition out of here and say once again that my name is Derek DeNicola, and I am a writer and producer working out of Los Angeles. And I really appreciate you spending your time with me. And if you haven't gotten to writing, that you should now get to writing. And let's raid somebody, y'all. Let's raid somebody. What I like to do is I like to go on the reading and writing section, because I don't know if you guys know this, it is one of the least populated categories on Twitch. And people have shown me love from that category, and I want to give it back to them. I think that's only right. So let's keep building up the community, and let's keep making some new friends here. And let's see who else has got a vibe. That okay. I can see Willow. Willow seems to be doing it. Excellent. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Oh no. Okay. Willow. Let me raid you, Willow. I wrote a commie with Sir Ian McKellen in mind. Mookie, bring that shit. Bring it. I wanna see what's up. Oh yeah, you love Vicious too? Okay, well then that'll be our next big thing that we talk about next stream. Here we go. let's raid Willow. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming in. It was a pleasure to have you. And if I haven't said it, I love you. Appreciate you so much. All right, have a good rest of your day. Mm-mm-mm.